The Sparta Board of Education regular meeting is called to order at 7 p.m. Emily, may you please read the meeting notice announcement for us?
Sure. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Sparta Board of Education has caused notice of the time and place of this meeting to be published in the New Jersey Herald, the Star Ledger, Tap into Sparta, and notice of the meeting has been posted on the Sparta Township School District website.
Thank you, Emily. May we have a roll call, please?
Dr. Hinkle? Mr. Lakaruba?
Present.
Mr. Lowry? Dr. Martinez?
Present.
Ms. Knoll?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Present.
Mr. Wood?
Here.
Ms. Serafino?
Here.
And Ms. Gagnon?
Present.
Quorum confirmed.
Thank you. Please join us for the pledge. Okay, and this evening we will not be convening into closed session, and district recognitions will be covered through our superintendent's report. We'll be moving right along to item number 5, which is our presentations. One item to note, we do have an addendum to this evening's agenda. Instead of starting with the Sparta Middle School schedule review, or revisions, excuse me, we're actually going to be starting with a presentation from our superintendent, Dr. Beck, and that is related to finance item 18.13, the lease agreement with Jefferson Township Board of Education related to our preschool.
Good evening. So as Ms. Gagnon said, we'll be presenting on the agenda item that pertains to the lease and the agreement with Jefferson Township School District. First, let me just walk you through our current status of our preschool program. The Preschool Education Aid, which is the grant that funds our preschool program and has funded our preschool expansion program over the past couple of years. There are requirements that go along with that funding. The requirements are that you have community partnerships in district classrooms or combinations thereof. They also require that you serve the entire preschool universe. That's in quotes. That is the New Jersey Department of Education's language. That's their term. Sparta's preschool universe is 360 preschool students. So the equation on how we arrive there is that it's an equation that the DOE gives you. Basically, the year that we applied for funding, they took that year's first grade class, which was exactly 200 students. They double that, and then they take 90% of that. That's the equation that they use when they give you a preschool universe. But ultimately, what they say is, when you start your preschool program, within 5 years, you need to do everything you can to hit your preschool universe, and our preschool universe is 360 preschool students that we would be serving. Currently, in this school year, we have in-district classrooms, as many of you know. Alpine Elementary School has 7 total classrooms, one of those classrooms being self-contained. And Helen Morgan School has 2 classrooms. We also have community providers, community partnerships with Goddard School, which we have 2 classrooms with Goddard School, and Little Genius Planet, where we have 1 classroom. In the current year that we're living in, those are all the pre-K classrooms that we have, and even with that many classrooms, there were 88 students that were placed on a wait list for the current school year. The Jefferson Township Partnership Proposal. So in late March, I received an email from Jefferson Township District Administration with the opportunity to collaborate. The gist of the email was, Matt, we understand that we have 2 different problems. We have too much space and not enough students, and Sparta has too many students and not enough space as far as the overcrowding goes in Alpine Elementary School. So we started a discussion because their current Milton School building, which is currently occupied by a special education school placement, that school is moving to another building in Jefferson, which leaves Milton School open. So after receiving that, I gathered all the administrative stakeholders for multiple meetings to discuss, like 3 months of meetings, 2 months of meetings, multiple meetings, hours and hours to address how would this benefit our community? Would it benefit our community? What would it cost? What are the pros? What are the cons? And what did we discuss during those meetings? We discussed facilities. Milton School, like I said, is currently utilized as a special education school. We want to ensure that it meets the preschool standards, needs, and requirements. Transportation, we wanted to figure out what transportation would look like, what that would cost, and what the logistics would be behind that. How would we fund an additional building to serve our needs? And that would be funded entirely through the preschool education expansion funding, through the grant funding. How would we staff that building? What teachers do we need? What paras do we need? We need a front office secretary. We need a custodian. We need security. How are we going to staff that program? And the benefits to our students and the school community. These were multiple meetings over multiple months discussing. And one of the things that we kept coming back to, or the things that we kept coming back to, were how will this benefit our students and our school community? And what I kept coming back to second to that was, if we were going to do this, it cannot cost us any more than it is costing us right now to run our preschool program. So these are the challenges that we faced: the facilities, the transportation, the funding, the staffing, the benefits. And each one of these hurdles that we cleared, it checked the box. It benefits our community, it benefits our students, and it doesn't cost us extra. Thereafter, once we got through those logistics, we toured the Milton School facility with the Jefferson Township administration and our own admin team. And of course, along the way, kept the Board of Education updated with developments in progress. And then the last step of the process, which just got wrapped up this week, was working through the lease agreement with the board attorney. Thank you, Jackie. So the plan for the 26-27 school year is to continue on with our community providers, in fact, expand with our community providers, get one additional classroom at Goddard School, two classrooms at Oak Tree. They wouldn't be additional, they would be our first classrooms at Oak Tree. And Milton School would house 14 classrooms, which all of our in-district classrooms would be moving from Alpine and Helen Morgan to Milton School. More details about the plan. Staffing. How are we going to staff this program? How are we going to staff that building? First, we need somebody to run the building. We need administration. Per statute, every school building requires a full-time principal. So again, if we're going to move an administrator over there, it can't cost us extra money. So what can we do with our current admin structure that would allow us to put a full-time principal in that building? Upon approval this evening, we will post for that internal posting for a full-time building principal, which will come from our current existing administrative structure. We're going to continue on with the preschool coordinator. I think on the agenda tonight it's called the preschool administrator. We've had this position for years. There needs to be somebody that runs the pre-K program. That's talking about the application process, working with community partners, budgeting, and things that pop up throughout the school year. We needed a current administrator that we have had been taking this on, and that administrator said that they don't want to do it anymore. So Ms. Madsen stepped up and said that she would do it. So that's a position that has existed for years because of all the logistics that go in behind our preschool program. Classroom staff. The plan is to move all current in-district preschool teachers and paras, plus the additional hires, to fully staff all classrooms. So all the current preschool teachers and paras would move over, and then we would need to hire additional for those additional classrooms, again, funded through the preschool education funding. Front office staff, you're going to need a front office secretary, so we are looking at transferring a current front office secretary that, again, currently exists in our district. Same thing with a nurse. We would look to be transferring a current nurse that currently exists in our school district. Alpine has 2 nurses. One of them is highly dedicates her time to the preschool program. So we'll talk about what that looks like and who that will be. The child study team and related services. The plan there is to share those services with the rest of the elementary schools. Right now, our elementary schools share child study team members as it is. So this would just continue that with an additional building. Custodian was one thing that we had to have a new hire, but that would be covered by the funding as well. We'd have to add custodians. There's a possibility that we can transfer a custodian, but we're at least going to need 1.5 to staff that building from the time it opens until the time ends to clean the building. And security. Right now we have a security guard in each building. 2 at the high school. We're not transferring any security guards, so that would be a new hire, again, covered by the funding. I've said it now multiple times, the funding expenses will continue to be covered by PEA funding. Transportation, the plan right now is to have busing hubs located throughout our community so that students are not on the buses very long so they're not on the bus for a long time. We will have strategically placed hubs throughout the county, throughout the community, where where parents can bring their kids to that hub of a bus stop, put their kids on the bus, and then that bus would have a direct route right to Milton School. Bus aids are something that we worked into the budget for this process so that there would be bus aids on the buses. And of course, as is the case now at Alpine and Helen Morgan, parents have the option to drive their own kids if they desire to do so. So the benefits, this is just a snapshot of some of the benefits of this partnership. First, we move closer to fulfilling the preschool universe, substantially decreasing, if not eliminating, the wait lists, to fully serve more of our community with free preschool. That Milton School becomes an early childhood center. The space is dedicated entirely to preschool and their developmental needs, and continued and expanded preschool programming, which again is free to our parents. What does this do for Alpine Elementary School as we move the classrooms out? Something that has been the #1 concern since I've entered this district from the community was the overcrowding at Alpine. This scenario frees up 7 classroom spaces, and what does that do? It allows specials to be with dedicated classrooms and movement for students. So specials will now have their own classrooms, and students can actually leave their classrooms and walk to their specials. That's an advantage. Dedicated small group and specialized instruction spaces. There is not a lot of space over there right now for such things. A dedicated child study team space for confidential meetings and evaluations. If you walk through Alpine School, you see a lot of storage in hallways. That would allow us to clear the hallways out. Dedicated space for parent meetings and conferences. Right now, basically that just defaults to be Ms. Madsen's office. Whenever there's a meeting, Ms. Madsen has to leave her office, and you just meet in Ms. Madsen's office. And it allows classroom access for teachers during their prep periods, because right now that is not necessarily the case at Alpine School. More advantages, it decreases the arrival and dismissal traffic at Alpine campus and the surrounding area. If you have seen that, you've seen that it's not ideal. And it alleviates overcrowding, of course, and improves the operations of that school building with lunch and recess and matters like that. So there will be more information coming out, more specifics will come out. The step was to get to the process, get to the lease agreement, get to a place that we're comfortable, and then we have the details. We're going to share the details out once we finalize them.
At this time, we're going to open it up for questions from the board. We have quite a few. I don't know if you prefer to sit down.
I'll start and give everybody a chance to gather their thoughts. So Dr. Beck, we had a referendum that failed. One of the reasons was the cost of a new building. It was a cost of a new building, or adding to the building or altering the building or whatever. So the back of the napkin, a new building, even if we had the space, would roughly cost, let's do easy numbers, say $40 million. Is that accurate?
I would say at a minimum, yeah.
Okay, so, and the referendum was more than that, and that was giving us, I think, 21 classrooms or something like that. My point is, even though the lease isn't totally done, we kind of know the ballpark. So roughly less than 1% of what a new building, we would get essentially a building that was totally renovated in 2016 and was housing currently students without any issue. So for less than 0.5%, we are gaining a building with 14 classrooms, creating a very unique opportunity for those young learners and freeing up space. And I'll talk in the finance report about some of the issues that we're potentially going to start having with stuff in the hallways that we've already been fined or potentially be fined.
Yes.
So with that said, financially, I don't understand why it wouldn't make sense. We're getting a new building, essentially, in school building terms, we're getting a new building for less than, or roughly about 0.5% a year. And for some of our constituents who were concerned during the referendum that we are losing students, which is not true, but if that is a concern, it is a lease, and at that point, we can release the building and then gain back that revenue to stay in. It is in district, but that pre-K money. So we can reduce the spending if, which I don't believe will ever happen, but if our population does decrease at that level, this gives us a safety valve without spending the $40 million and at less than 0.5%. Is that accurate? Am I?
Yeah, I don't know the exact cost of what the construction would be, but your logic tracks, right? You're getting a building that is no cost to the taxpayer. You're expanding the use. You're expanding our preschool community and serving more students for free, while again having an advantage of freeing up space at Alpine too, which has been a major issue.
Yeah, and so I last year had the fortunate experience of going to the pre-K, and I saw what the teacher I was shadowing, it's tough. I mean, they have to do their work in the classroom. This will give teachers the ability to possibly have a space where they can leave the classroom. I was there for 2 hours and I needed to leave, so I don't know how they do it all day. So, I mean, this is a win for everybody, so I don't see an issue with it financially or academically. I mean, is there anything wrong with anything I just said?
No, and academically, it just plays into having more students in our school district prepared earlier, which is the goal, not just for us, but statewide.
Yep, all right.
Rocky, if I can add something too, which is I think not exactly a question that you asked, but is relevant to the conversation. The way that the lease agreement is written is that while it's a 5-year term, there are terminations provisions providing for the board to no longer engage in this lease agreement upon notice by December 1st for the following year.
Right.
For any reason, and as well as language, if we are to lose PEA funding, that the board has the ability to terminate the contract upon providing notice by March 15th, with that documentation demonstrating the loss of funding. So there are terms within the contract
Right.
that provide for that financial out.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure what we could discuss, but, I mean, all the safety valves are there. The ones I look for commercially, when I look for contracts, were in there, so I honestly think this is it's kind of a no-brainer. It's a win-win for everybody, so.
Rocky, if I may as well, I want to be clear to the public. Please know that these questions have been discussed at length by the Board of Administration. In many ways, we want to make sure that the most pertinent questions that we believe the public should be aware of the answers to, we are doing our best to make sure that those are answered beyond what you're seeing here. Bear with me one moment. Anyone, I know John, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
So as a parent, the biggest thing for me is getting my kids to school in a way that doesn't negatively impact my day or my commute to work. And I know this has to be on a lot of parents' minds. Can you go a little bit into detail about those communal spots where you're going to be picking up students, and a little bit into before care and after care, if there's a plan there?
Yeah, we don't have the hubs worked out, but if we were going to create hubs today, we could operate off the hubs that currently exist for non-public schools or for tech school. There's not as many bus stops for those students as there is for students that attend. They will be strategically placed around the township to make sure that it's not too far for parents to get their kids to those hubs, but also we want to make sure that the students aren't on the bus for a very, very long time getting to school. And it would be more of a direct route because they're not stopping at another building before they're getting, as is the case now with our piggybacked bus routes. Yeah, tiered, thank you. Yes. Oh, and if the hours don't work for parents because parents work, I get it. There are going to be opportunities that we're going to work with our community partners or even get our own deal in Milton School with our own provider for before care and after care. So if you wanted to drop your student off at, let's say, Goddard School for before care, hypothetically, the bus is going by there anyway because we have kids that go to Goddard. So I don't know exactly how that swap is going to look, but in theory, you would drop the student off and pick up the student from Goddard School that would be going over to Milton School. So there are options. There are options for parents.
So Dom, I actually thought of this as well, and because I'm a numbers analytics person, I did some Google Map stuff. So, and I could share this with you afterwards. So I took some of the largest or the biggest points within Sparta, the town hall, high school, Lake Mohawk, and the average, if you did it at rush hour and if the person was driving themselves, the average change between Alpine and Milton, it's a 8-minute difference drive between. So again, I'm not a transportation person. I just did this through Google Maps. So if you live on that side of town, you save between 2 and 3 minutes. So depends where you're coming from, but the biggest change is about 8 or 9 minutes.
Currently,
between
my
locations.
daughter rides from Alpine Elementary School, and it takes about 45 minutes for her to get home, being a piggybacked route. So there you have it.
So,
Anyone else first? Michelle?
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit, so it's my understanding that the Milton School is available to open. Can you talk about how long it's been open for, the reasons that it's open, and any building concerns, code, compliance with the
Yeah.
building?
I can't tell you the year that it opened,
Oh, no,
but
because of
it,
how long it's been vacant?
Sure. So, so Milton School was part of the Jefferson School District for years. When the funding problems started in Jefferson, it's my understanding, at that time they needed to make some difficult decisions, and one of those difficult decisions was to close Milton School. They've just made another difficult decision to close another one of their buildings, and that's what's happening right now, actually. So there is a special education placement school currently in Milton School, under a similar agreement that we are under. And they are actually going to relocate to Cozy Lake School, which is now the next building that Jefferson just closed. And I think that's more of a space thing or whatever. For whatever reason, that's why they're moving. So it has been operating as a school. It meets the standards of a school. And it's even in the contract that it needs to meet the standards of a school.
Thank you, Michelle. I was actually hoping, Jackie, that you might be able to speak to that a little bit more. There have been claims that you already covered that the building is in fact not vacant, has not been vacant recently. But in terms of the building being up to code compliant, there's been allegations of mold remediation, asbestos. If you can speak to that in any capacity relating to the contract that we reviewed and you did as well.
Sure, I just wanted to pull it up so I can refer to specific language. So the actual language of the agreement contains provision regarding the use of the property, and that it is specified that it will be used and occupied only for purposes of a non-for-profit public school, and that it is, quote, operated strictly in accordance with all applicable federal laws, rules, and regulations, and all laws, rules, and regulations of the state of New Jersey and Department of Education, as well as imposing certain requirements regarding certificates of occupancy, certificates of continued occupancy, documents that are required, that require demonstrating that the building satisfies both town codes and local codes and state codes as to occupancy and continued use of the property.
I believe there are other clauses as well that go even more into detail in terms of further compliance. I don't know if you feel comfortable pulling those up. I don't want to
Yeah, absolutely.
speak
No.
out of turn.
No, I'm just pulling quickly. Condition of care and premises, that it's the property's been reviewed and there are all working mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems are in working order. Premises will be maintained in good condition. There's essentially, the requirements are standard as it relates to a typical lease as it relates to a commercial property. And by nature of those terms, that they relate to how the property is maintained and the actual status and the representations that are being provided both to the Board of Education and the Board of Education is making in response to Jefferson as it relates to how the property is going to be used and what the property actually provides for.
Excellent. I believe there's also other agencies that are mentioned in terms of the property itself on, around, about. The question I have for you relating to that from a legal perspective, do you feel that having reviewed this contract, or lease agreement, it is sound, we are in a good position financially, and when it comes to our security, if we ever did have the opportunity or the need to pull out of this
Absolutely.
agreement? Excellent. Anyone else before I ask questions as well?
Sure, I have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
One, this might be more suited for Jackie, but I'm not sure. This is big news for our community, obviously, and it's just kind of breaking this week, even though we've been working on it for a few weeks now. Can either Dr. Beck or Jackie address why we have not addressed this before until we're ready now to accept the lease?
Well, I can address the timeline, and I'm sure Jackie can address the legal aspect of it. But the timeline is, like I said, this was we received this email in March, and we started working on it. It has taken that long to work out all the logistics. We met up until last week to discuss some of the logistics, and at that point, when we said, "Yeah, we've checked all the boxes, we've overcome all the challenges that I saw, and it met the criteria. Now we need to see the lease agreement." And then the lease agreement took some back and forth too between Barbara and Jackie and Jefferson, back to Barbara, back to Jackie, and so on. So that process took some time too.
As far as timeline relating to the lease, the actual back and forth was, in my opinion, for a closing of something to this magnitude, rather quick. I think all in all, from the actual point of pen to paper, it was less than 2 weeks that this was presented and then ultimately presented to the board for purposes of the agenda in its final form.
And to expand on that, Jackie, in terms of if we had, say, notified the public, not to say prematurely, but to say, hey, this is something that we're entertaining that might happen, what are the parameters around that would prevent us from doing that, whether it's from an ethical perspective, executive session perspective? Can you explain that to the public so that it's understood that this wasn't an attempt to hide something from the public?
No, absolutely. So the Board of Education has an ethical responsibility to taxpayers of your township to provide information as it becomes available. However, there are certain confidentiality requirements as things are being deliberated upon and discussed in draft, right? The concern with putting something out there to this effect is the sort of ripple effects that it has. There's all these other moving pieces as it relates to your staffing concerns and your transportation concerns. And from my perspective, making sure that we're able to get a lease that is mutually agreeable is always going to be priority number one, as well as making sure that that lease is effective to both protect the Board of Education and achieve the goals that it seeks to do with the project of this kind. In the absence of having certainty, disclosing continued discussions between two public entities has potential ramifications that goes beyond, I mean, we're talking two different school districts with two different budgets and two different sets of constituents. Once the idea of something that is not necessarily set in stone, the Board of Education potentially exposes itself to concerns as it relates to, I can't remember exactly the term I wanted to use, but the idea of unkept promises, right? This idea of you set forth a bargain that is ultimately not something that you're willing to go forward to. And that creates a concern as it relates to not putting information out there that is not, in fact, fully vetted and fully confirmed and fully as something that we're actually moving forward with.
And I could tell you one more concern that I had in addition to that was the idea that preschool expansion or preschool education aid is very,
Fluid.
there's a lot right now, and every school district qualifies for it. In fact, the state wants every school district to pull the trigger on the expansion funding or the education funding. What I was concerned about was this is a great opportunity for our district and for our community. I was concerned that somebody else would catch wind of this, a neighboring district, who is also strapped for space, and undercut the whole process as well. So that's why even within our admin circles, when we met as an admin team, every time we started those meetings, this stays in this room for that reason.
I was going to note that as well, the integrity of the contract itself. There's so many implications that go beyond even just the board and whether or not the lease agreement could be affected. Emily, did you have anything else before I?
Okay, my second question or concern. So definitely on social media, there's a lot of talk about this, and there is a graphic going around saying that there was mold remediation, even though that was in Jefferson High School in a science lab. But there are people claiming that that was in the Milton School, which is not true. But Dr. Beck or Jackie, do you guys have any information about any type of mold or asbestos or testing that has been done recently to just prove that this school is safe, or we've done our due diligence to make sure the school is safe?
I have no information that there was mold in the building, or even if there was, it would have had to have been remediated for their school to be occupying it right now. I mean, I've been here for 5 years. We've had a mold issue in Helen Morgan. We've had a mold issue in Alpine. We inform the community and we remediate it, make sure everybody's safe, and it gets addressed and we move on.
And the only other information that I would add to that is I had no knowledge of any sort of existence of any remediation that was done. I will say, just as an editorial note, school buildings, when they're built, were built with asbestos. Asbestos, as a general matter, is not, by its nature of existence, a dangerous condition unless it's disturbed. When any sort of disturbance occurs, then we have an issue that we have to address. But there's been no reason for me to believe that there's been any disturbance that would cause any concern as we're getting the property as part of this lease.
Thank you. Emily, anything else? Anyone else? Oh, Rocky has another. Chad hasn't gone yet.
Just a quick note. I know that we're considering taking one school or one nurse from Alpine to compensate, but do you think that would cause any concern for the nurse staffing at Alpine? Do you think one's sufficient?
No, really, that the additional nurse at Alpine came in with preschool expansion, actually, because there is such a need for the extra nurse at Alpine School. So if you remove the preschool students from there, that need for that extra nurse goes down, and the nurse travels with that need.
Rocky, did you have more?
Yeah, I'm not an educator like you guys, but I pretend to be one. But could someone talk about the benefit of having a self-contained building that is preschool, where everybody is there? So we've been talking about potentially negatives, and I want to bring a positive, that having a learning community that is focused on pre-K learning, and I can tell you those 2 hours I spent will live with me for the rest of my life. It is a different animal than first, second, or third grade. And by having them in a building with a bunch of professionals who are certificated, who understand how to teach those young learners, I have a feeling it's a huge change and a great thing, but I'm not a professional like some of the at the dais, so.
Can I ask that Tara handles that one, because it aligns with mine, which was what are the curricular benefits of having this opportunity? I just want to point out too, while we're focusing on positive, there has been also talk of why don't we just eradicate this program from our district entirely? So even if you can speak to why you think this benefits our district and why there's a good need for this.
Right, definitely. So when you have a school and an entire community focused around that developmental level, instead of like having them be integrated into a school that serves like a wider range of developmental levels, it allows you to focus your time and attention specifically on their needs. There is substantial developmental and educational benefits to having preschool and to being able to focus specifically on that readiness and those developmental strengths. So there is benefit to improving kindergarten readiness, developing stronger social emotional skills like self-regulation, emotional control, peer interactions. There are long-term academic benefits, including improved reading and math achievement, lower intervention rates, and higher graduation rates. So being able to focus our attention on the whole child, because also a lot of this research talks about high quality preschool programming. So when you're able to not kind of be trying to serve everyone at the same time and focus your time exclusively on those needs, serving the whole child and supporting them in a way that is best for their developmental needs, that is a high level benefit, to that population. And then I just also want to reiterate, because Dr. Beck spoke to some of the benefits at Alpine School, but also from a learning environment perspective. I mean, I think it's easy to talk about, different points and bullets on a slideshow, but when you are living in a building that is overcrowded, that is also not beneficial academically to the students in that school. And he talked about things like movement, teachers not having preps in their classrooms, and these are words we say, but when you're living in that environment and that's there every day, and they don't have access to an art room, those are not best practices academically for those students either. And I think what was challenging was with a failed referendum, what are our options? And there weren't many of them. So, to provide this opportunity for the preschool students, but then also really service, our early education setting, which will become K through 2, and really give them what they need. Those early grade levels are your primary development of the entire education system. So it's a huge benefit for both populations.
Thank you.
I thought that was it. Anyone else have anything before I ask? Similar to that point, I wanted to also ask, there's also been discussion that simply closing the board offices at Mohawk Ave would solve our problem somehow. I want to be very clear and state on the record, Board of Education members do not have offices in that side area. We have a shared mailbox, and it's about yay big, yay tall. So I just want to be very clear that there might be some misunderstanding related to that. I know it's something that the district has discussed in the past. Dr. Beck, do you believe that if we were to, which would be a financial cost to our district, because if I'm not mistaken, PEA funding wouldn't cover a renovation, if we were to renovate that portion of our Mohawk Avenue school, first of all, would it alleviate any of the crowding issues that we have in our district, and from a position of actually solving them, or just potentially, or I shouldn't say eradicate as opposed to alleviate? If that makes sense.
Yeah, when we looked at it before, we looked at the idea of, this is a long time ago, when we were just talking about overcrowding and different options that we would have with overcrowding before we even pursued the referendum. I think you could get maybe 4 classrooms over there, but you'd have to tear down all the walls that currently exist and basically start over. And put bathrooms in and things like that. But then you'd be looking at an additional or increasing disjointed pre-K program by having yet another building with 4 classrooms in it, and then 2 classrooms at Helen Morgan, and the classrooms that exist at Alpine. So now you're spread out even more.
And I would like to highlight, contrary to popular belief, I do think you guys deserve offices. I think it's important that you have somewhere to work. So. I also have a few other questions, and I appreciate the board. I feel like everyone did a fantastic job of pointing out what speaks to them and making sure that the community is informed. A few points I do want to just reiterate so that everyone understands. The the principal stipend that we see does not suggest one principal will be responsible for both buildings. I know you answered this. This is more of a true or false rapid fire round. So that is not accurate, correct?
You're required to have a full-time principal in each building, and that would be the case here.
Excellent. And the goal is to make sure that the 88 waitlisted preschool students will now be eligible to participate. The goal, not necessarily the guarantee.
Yeah, that's the goal, not necessarily the guarantee. As it all shakes out, there might still be a few students that are waitlisted, but nowhere near what we're facing right now. We'll be able to serve more members of our community.
Excellent. The concerns related to taxpayers footing the bill for the lease. I want to be very clear that preschool education funding is provided through the state. This will not have implications and maybe Barbara can speak to whether or not there are serious implications outside of that funding for our budget, whether or not we have the means to accommodate any unexpected expenses. What position do you think we're in on a financial end?
No, at this point, the PEA funds will cover the cost of the transition moving to the Milton School. And moving forward next year, you put a budget through every year based on your population, and you receive, if your population goes up, your enrollment goes up, so does your funding, whether it's at outside providers or in districts. So that would be proportionally increasing with any other enrollment increases as well.
Thank you so much. That was another question I had. So beyond the curricular benefits, there's also a financial benefit to us expanding our universal pre-K offering. Barbara, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. I feel like that covers most of it. One other concern, and this is maybe more of a procedural, we might have more information at a later date, in terms of the affected students and parents. And again, if we look at the entire picture as a list of pros and cons, There are some elements, perhaps the timing of the notification and parents only having 3 to 4 months to figure out their plans for September. We understand that and we respect that. But at the end of the day, that is directly correlated to the pros of how many parents will now have the option to send their child to free preschool. So while we certainly empathize with that position, is there anything from an administrative side that we can support to make sure that any parents that were already advised of placements, whether it's Alpine or Helen Morgan, what is the plan for what they can expect? And same thing for any of our network placements in private schools, how would that affect them?
Yeah, I'd have to talk with the preschool team now that this is an actual thing. But I would think that the parents that are already committed to the private providers would stay within those private providers or elect to go to Milton School for all the advantages that we already stated. And if that's the case and something, a seat opens up at, let's say, Goddard School because a parent now wants to go to Milton School, then we would we would have to look at the list and the order and see if there's any parents that don't want to go to Milton and would rather go to Goddard, but that would have to be because a seat opens up. But in the future, we could take such things into consideration when we look at the next round of acceptances for the following school year.
Excellent, thank you. Dom, did you have something else?
Yeah, just to build on what you had spoken about with the security guard being hired, a security guard has to be in contact with a local police department. The local police department would be Jefferson PD. How would that coordinate with Sparta PD? Is that something that would solely be the responsibility of Jefferson PD to respond in case of emergency? Or would there be some coordination between Sparta PD and
Well,
Jefferson?
if there was a minor incident that required a police response at the school building, it would be Jefferson Police because it's in their jurisdiction. But Sparta Police Department has a great relationship with the Jefferson Police Department. In fact, we went to one of the trainings that they hosted at Jefferson School on how they do reunification. And I traveled there with our police department and met with their police department and the sheriff's department and all that. So, I mean, if there were, God forbid, anything of any kind of magnitude that required a large police response, regardless of our partnership in this Milton instance, the Jefferson Police would come to Sparta schools in a large response, and Sparta Police would go to Jefferson schools in a large response. It's all part of their plan.
Does anyone have anything else? A few small notes I'd like to make as well. I think it's really important to commend the fact that we were approached by Jefferson with this opportunity. To your point, this could have easily been an opportunity that was passed to another district, and had it potentially leaked, that may have very well been the case. So I commend the fact that you were approached with a solution. I also look at this as I'm incredibly proud of the dual effort that it has taken to get us to this place where we are not only alleviating the overcrowding issue at Alpine, we are not only expanding our preschool network, but we're managing to do it at, if not no, very minimal cost to the district, primarily through grant funding. So I think this is an outstanding opportunity. I understand, and I will always say, parents, advocate for your children. If you have concerns or not happy with the timing, we understand that, we respect that. But please know, we operate out of the best interests of the mission of our district and supporting and helping our commitment to every student every day. And I do believe this absolutely fosters that. So if there are any other questions, we will encourage everyone to speak during the first public comment portion of the meeting. Otherwise, everyone okay? Great, thank you. Now we're up to Mr. Chiaburi with a presentation related to the middle school schedule revisions.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for giving me a few minutes to present to you tonight some changes that are going to be taking place at the middle school, specifically the middle school master schedule for the 26-27 school year. So we'll jump right in. And so why the change in schedule? I can't see. I'm going to move up a little bit. So truth is, over the last couple of years, the Sparta administration, middle school administration has been looking into developing some changes for the middle school schedule. Every year, budget is always a concern. What can we do to make things better at the school? What can we tighten up? What can we level across the building? So we took it upon ourselves to reach out, join some scheduling webinars, meet with some scheduling professionals from other states. We put together last year or the year before a middle school scheduling team with our teachers in our building, and just got some different ideas and perspectives from all the different angles. As we started grabbing onto some ideas, we recently reached out to the students and polled the students and the families of the district just to see like where the interest level was. We had an opportunity, as I'll get into in a little bit, to get pretty creative with our schedule, and we wanted to really line that up with the interests of the students that were attending this school. So this year's budget news came upon us pretty early this year, and we met as a district team and pretty much were asked to go back and look through the notes over the last couple of years, see what you can put together, and see what you can develop for the middle school schedule for the upcoming school year. And what we discovered that there were multiple areas of our school where we were able to create a stronger student-centered schedule. And I'm going to get into some of the details of that now. So exactly what's changing? Right now, we currently operate under an 8-period day where each period is 48 minutes long. We're going to slide that 8-period day to a 9-period day and reduce the number of minutes to 43 minutes per period. Additionally, we're going to go from a 12-minute homeroom down to a 6-minute homeroom. We currently have a 24-minute lunch, with, depending on who you talk to, is too much time still or too little time. It gets a little tricky when you're talking about lunchtime and how long people take to eat and what time they get into the cafeteria. So we are going to a full 43-minute lunch period next year. The reduction of time from 48 minutes to 43 minutes allows our teachers in our building to teach 5 full periods across the building. Currently, we have some teachers that are teaching 4.5 period a day, and some that are teaching 5 periods a day. So this will level the playing field across the building in terms of number of class periods. It also allows us to balance the class sizes across the building. Right now, we have a little bit of elevated numbers in our elective areas, and this is going to allow us to spread that out a little more and get into the range of like 22 to 25 across the board, all classes, academic and on-core classes or elective classes. And then also, and this was a big one, all staff will be able to have a duty, which is going to help the day-to-day operations of running the middle school. Currently, we have less than 50% of our teachers available for duty. So when it comes to managing the hallways, the bathrooms, the cafeteria, and some of those kind of neutral areas of the school, we're running ragged. So this is going to allow us to really spread out our staff and address some of those concerns throughout the building. One other big goal that we had was aligning with the high school. It's been a focus of mine and the administrative team to really start lining things up with what the high school is offering. And this schedule is going to allow us to offer classes to students that aligns with the different pathways that they'll be able to take when they get to the high school. And it also allows us to fix the schedule a little bit where we will see some similarities in what the schedule is going to look like and what the high school schedule currently has. So how is this impacting our students? There's really 3 big areas that this is going to impact our students, and I believe for the positive. Number one, it's in the electives and cycles area. When I talk about cycles, we're talking about a 4-class rotation where the students will rotate to a different class in the same period every marking period. So marking period 1, they might take art. Marking period 2, they might take STEM. and et cetera throughout the third and fourth marking period. Every student in 7th grade and 6th grade will be enrolled in what we call the encore cycle. I'll dive into the details to that in a little bit, but every student will receive that cycle. The second cycle down is called the alternate cycle, and we call it that because students in 6th and 7th grade really have control of their schedule in one area, and that's whether or not they want to enter band, strings, or chorus. And if they do enter band, strings, or chorus, then they have that course for the entire year. If they don't go into band, strings, or chorus, then they're entered into the alternate cycle, which is again, a 4-class rotation of different elective type classes. And then this year, or I should say next year, this academic cycle is a new cycle that's going to be offered to the students. It's going to give access to our 6th and 7th graders to have their teachers, or I should say, give the teachers access to their students one more class on a 4-day rotation of their core 4 subject areas: math, social studies, language arts, and science. Again, I'm going to dive into that a little bit more too. But most excitingly, when you get to 8th grade, you really have a lot of control over your classes. Every student in 8th grade will get their required 4 core classes. They'll get their phys ed class, and then they have control over the last remaining periods by choosing different elective options. The second big change is the change in the world language department. This year, the middle school has 4 languages, and we're going to reduce that down to 2 languages next year. So currently they have Spanish, French, Russian, and German. This was kind of a district conversation in how we can start in the elementary schools where the students are exposed to just Spanish, and then when they graduate up to the middle school level, we're going to take that one language and expose them to 2 languages, which is going to be Spanish and French. Spanish and French traditionally are our most popular languages, so keeping them was an important factor. And they're going to now leave the middle school learning a little bit about the language of French and Spanish. Because when they get to 2nd or 7th grade, they're going to be able to choose, or I should say, in 7th grade, they're going to take one of the cycle classes that's going to introduce the language of Spanish and French to them. And then in 8th grade, they can take Spanish 1, French 1, and then carry that up to the high school where they can advance in the different languages. So in 6th grade, the students are going to get a class called World Cultures. It's going to expose the students to the 4 courses that I just talked about. They'll get 1 marking period of French, 1 marking period of Spanish, 1 marking period of Russian culture, and 1 marking period of German culture. Again, 7th grade, they get the language, and then in 8th grade, they choose the language that they want. The third area is the 43-minute lunch period. This is going to be a big one for the middle school, but in our research on some different ideas, we actually visited a few middle schools that have the same kind of demographic that we do. One middle school that we did visit was Montville Middle School, and they actually have a 43-minute period for lunch. We were able to go there. We were able to watch it in play and how they do it. And to simplify it, the students are required to eat for 21 minutes, half of the period. And for some students, that's plenty of time. For other students, they like to sit a little bit longer, take their time, and socialize, and that option will be available for those students. The students that get done early will have some other options. They can go outside, weather permitting. We have a nice area between the lunchroom and the gym where there's a gazebo there. We have some picnic tables that'll be set up outside. There's a grass area, a blacktop area, and the students will have time to just go out and get some fresh air, blow off some steam for 20 minutes, and then hit that reset button before they finish the rest of the day. Currently, our students have access to the media center after lunch period, or I should say before their lunch, and that will stay. So if students want to finish eating and then go to the media center, they'll be able to sign out of the lunchroom, go to the media center, sit and work quietly, sign out some books, and do some other activities that our media specialist has for them. If there's a demand for a study hall where students want to just get a quiet place and catch up on some work, even if it's just to sit quietly, we have available teachers now that can take students to a study hall to work, to sit quietly and do those types of things. And then finally, and this is one area that lines up with the high school, is that our teachers will have 2 available academic assistance periods per week. Okay, so we're calling them office hours, where Mr. Math teacher needs to meet with certain students to make up a test or get them caught up on some work. They can assign a student to come down and see them during academic assistance and have those days scheduled ahead of time. And the idea is to offset our core teachers, so they're spread out throughout the week. So one student can go to science on one day, and math on the second day, and then catch up on language arts on a different day. So we thought that was a good benefit that we were not going to lose. There was a fear that we might have lost that this year, but we're actually able to keep it and align it with what the high school is doing now. So here's a list of the cycles that our 6th and 7th grade students will be taking. Any area or any subject up there, course that is labeled in bold, is a new course to the middle school. And the asterisks are courses that we currently have, just kind of revamped them a little bit. So the on-course cycle, which every 6th grade student will get, they will get Art 6, they'll get Money Madness, which is a new course. It's a business exposure course. It's actually the stock market game. If any of the students in the upper grades have experienced that, we're going to introduce it now in 6th grade. Modern Living, which is a student favorite, and Computer Science, which we currently have. The alternate cycle, which is for all students that are not in band, strings, or chorus, will get a course called The History and Mystery of Music, which is the general music that we currently have now, just kind of updated. Modeling and Design, which is a course that we currently offer. The Introduction to Imaging and Design, which currently is called Computer Art. This is just an advanced version of that course. And then Digital Frontier, which is a super necessary course. It's a digital citizenship. Just kind of exposes the students to the digital world and the impacts that making the right choices and just kind of educating our students in that area. We thought that was appropriate for our 6th grade students. Now, the academic cycle, again, is an opportunity for the students to go back to their team. In 6th grade, we're working on teams, and they will meet with every one of their academic teachers on a 4-day rotation throughout the week. We call them labs in 6th grade, so they'll get an extended science class, they'll get an extended writing or ELA class, an extended math lab or math class, which will be an extension of what they're learning in the classroom. It's just offered a second time during the day on a 4-day rotation. Now, when they rotate to the social studies class, that's where they're going to get the world languages, the world cultures class, and they'll get, again, exposure to Spanish, French, Russian, and German cultures, one each marking period. 7th grade is relatively similar. As you can see, all the 7th grade students will get the on-course cycle, which they'll get Art 7, which is an extension, Money Madness 7, which is an extension of the 6th grade course. They'll get STEM, which they get now, and they'll get a new class called Career Explorations. We're excited about this class. This is a class where we're going to expose the students to what's out there in the world. They might not know about the trades route, and they want the plumbing and the electrician and that. So we're going to expose them to that and fill them in. And if you go to college and you want to go on a 4-year, degree, and what classes you might get an opportunity to take there, or what jobs are out there after you complete college. Maybe it's the police academy. So we're going to expose our students in this class to different careers. That's going to include inviting public to come in and talk about their careers. Maybe a police officer to come in and talk about the police department and the police academy, et cetera. So that's an exciting class, so they can have that in their back pocket when they start picking their elective classes in 8th grade. The alternate cycle, again, for non-band strings and chorus students, they'll get the music course extension, public speaking, which is a course that we value very much at the middle school. Storytelling Studio, it's a new course that we're offering where it's going to teach students to write in a different way. It might be comic book writing or poems or short stories, interviews, newspaper articles, all of the different ideas that you can come up with for writing. And that's going to take place in Storytelling Studio. And then finally, in the alternate cycle is a class called Mythbusters, which is a science-based class where students will engage in different experiments that will either prove or debunk different myths that are out there. So that's a science-based class that we're very excited about. And then we get to the academic cycle in 7th grade, which is a little bit different than 6th grade. The students will rotate into their core classes again, but they'll have their core class in a workshop form for one full marking period. So if you're in science for the full marking period, and you're going to work on a project-based activity for the whole marking period. And then at the end of the first marking period, you'll rotate into the writing workshop, the math workshop, and then eventually into the world language course where you'll be introduced to Spanish and French. And that's the end of the two cycles the two grade levels and the cycles that those students will have next year. Now in 8th grade, at the end of your 7th grade year, you're going to take a survey and you're going to choose your classes. We're offering 14 elective classes to our 8th graders next year, and about 11 or 12 of them have been created this year. Art 8, which is a standard course that is pretty popular with our students. Digital Imaging and Design is a course that's going to align with photography up at the high school, just manipulating pictures and kind of setting an introduction to what photography is and how you can use the computers to manipulate your photos. Financial literacy, it's a current course at the high school that we're bringing down to the 8th grade level to give those students a head start on their entrance into the high school. Super popular with the students this year when they ranked their courses. Human Health and Medical Discoveries kind of speaks for itself. It's a science class based around human health and different medical advances. Law and Justice, which is another tremendously popular course that we're super excited about. Making AI work for you. We're going to teach the students all about AI. I mean, it's here, it's not going away, so let's embrace it. Let's teach them the right way to use it and how it can help them out as they're navigating through school or general life. Mind Matters is a psychology class that we're offering our students next year. There's a big group of classes that a big track up at the high school that the students can take in this area. So we thought introducing that to them at the middle school level would be beneficial. Modern Living, again, a student favorite. Movies and Filmmaking, a super popular course again, with students had a lot of excitement about choosing these courses. And Movies and Filmmaking will line up with some of the film courses that they offer at the high school. Ms. Heroes and Legends, it's an extension of our ELA and our social studies classes, which is going to dive deeper into mythology for students that are interested in that. Shark Tank, which is another business course. So we're in the process of developing that, and everybody knows that game show. It's not going to be that game show, but it's going to kind of embrace that idea and incorporate public speaking and marketing into that type of a course. Sports and Statistics, another popular one, just kind of taking the statistics from math and applying it to real life experiences. Theater Workshop. If anybody has ever come see the middle school musical, I think you'll agree with me that we have some pretty talented students in our district, and this is just going to give them a jump start on that and let them express that strength of theirs in a class. All of these elective classes are semester classes, so they'll get a half year of it, and then we're working on some kind of project that they'll end that year with, end that semester with. Theater Workshops, thinking about having like a coffee shop presentation where we invite the parents to it and offer up some scripts that they're working on, and it sounds like it's going to be a really neat course. Understanding Animals, Behavior, Biodiversity, and Beyond. You mention animals to middle school students, and they get all excited. And this is one of our most popular courses that, again, we're excited to offer. We just love the idea of giving our students some control over what they study when they get into 8th grade, and either say, yeah, this is all about it for me, and I'm going to pursue it when I get to high school, or this isn't for me, and I'm not going to go that route, and I'm going to go experiment with something else when I get to the high school. So those are the 8th grade elective options for next year. So I'll breeze through these next couple of slides because they kind of repeat, but every 6th grade student is going to get a math, science, social studies, and language arts class. They'll get their lunch A and lunch B. They'll get health and phys ed, and then they'll get their academic cycle in 6th grade, which is the 4-day rotation of their 4 core classes. Every student will get their encore cycle, which you can see the 4 classes there. And then the 9th period is the band, strings, or chorus, which is the only option that they get in 6th grade and 7th grade, or the alternate cycle. The other area that we figured out late was that this schedule allows students that are very much into the musics to take both chorus and band, or band and orchestra, or orchestra in any combination. Right now, they can't do that. They have to pick one of the 3 courses and study that for the whole year. The schedule that we're going to offer next year is going to allow those students really excited about music to take 2 different music classes. It will come at the cost of the encore cycle, but we will have that conversation with the students and the parents before they make that choice. So 7th grade, very similar in the 4 core classes, lunch, phys ed. The academic cycle here is those workshops where they'll get their core subject for the full marking period instead of the 4-day rotation, and then they'll get their exposure to math and French world language. The encore cycles, 4 classes are right there, and then band, strings, or chorus, or the alternate cycle. 7th grade will still have the option to enter into 2 music classes should they choose. And then the 8th grade schedule, again, the same 4 core classes, lunch, phys ed, and then the rest of the schedule they get to choose. They get to choose if they want to enter French 1 or Spanish 1. And then if they don't like what they chose when they get to the high school, they can take the other one. They can take Spanish or French 1, or they'll be able to take Russian or German 1 in high school. Band, strings, or chorus. Okay, so then their second choice is either taking band, strings, or chorus and 2 electives, or not taking band, strings, or chorus and getting the choice of 4 different elective classes to round out their 8th grade schedule. So how does this impact teachers? Again, there's 3 pretty big areas that this is going to affect the teachers, and it's a repeat of what I said before. The reduction from 48 minutes to 43 minutes allows our teachers to teach 5 classes across the building. So kind of levels the playing field in that area. It's going to allow every teacher to be able to take on a duty period, which is going to be instrumental in helping us run the day-to-day operations of the building. And then another big change is that the teachers will have different courses that they may have to teach, different preps. A prep is how many courses that they have to prepare for. A lot of our teachers now might be teaching an ELA class or a science class, and it's the same grade level 4 times in a row, where this new schedule is going to have those teachers possibly teaching different grade levels, or teaching 1 grade level and an elective class or a cycle class. So it'll increase the number of preps that the teachers may have. There's an example of what a core teacher's schedule may look like. They'll have their classes to teach. They'll get a lunch, a duty, a prep, and a common planning period. So they're not losing anything that they have already this year. So again, some of the highlights that we have from the schedule, from this schedule, is equity across the building in terms of the number of classes teachers teach, class sizes in both the academic and elective classes, and the fact that all of our teachers will have a duty. It's a student-centered, a very much student-centered schedule, and that's the introduction of new courses to our 6th and 7th graders. and the choice that the 8th graders have about their schedule. We're aligning a lot of our courses with the high school paths. When we talk about the STEM Academy and the Humanities Academy and the business track and the psychology track that they have at the high school, we don't even offer a lot of those courses right now to the students, so they're going into those tracks blind. So the courses offerings that we're going to have next year is going to give them a little bit of an intro to see if it's something that they'd like to pursue further when they get to the high school. Similarities with the high school, or other similarities with the high school, reducing down to 43 minutes aligns a little closer with what the periods are at the high school. Right now, the high school teaches 42-minute periods. We'll have 43-minute periods, so those students making the transition to the high school will be well equipped to handle a 42-minute period. The 4-day rotation that we offer in the 6th grade academic cycle is very similar to the 4-day rotation that the high school offers right now. They do it for all their classes. We're only going to do it one period of the day, but it's given the students a little bit of experience in how to rotate and manage that type of a schedule. And the academic assistance period. When they get to the high school, they're going to have access to their teachers 2 times a week with their with those teachers' office hours. So we're going to incorporate that into the middle school next year as well. This was a big highlight for us too. In the 6th, because of the 6th and 7th grade academic cycle, we're actually increasing the number of minutes that our 6th and 7th grade core teachers will have with their students. It increases that by over 1,000 minutes for the extension of the entire school year. So that 4-day rotation, that extra period, seeing them those extra 43 minutes every 4th day adds over 1,000 more minutes than they're currently getting this year. Not the case in 8th grade. We understand that there was a reduction in the number of minutes in 8th grade, but the trade-off of giving those students choice over their course, I felt was a benefit that I was willing to take. So those are the highlights of the schedule, and that's about it. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to.
Any questions from the board? I think we'd all just like to extend our thanks to make this happen, and in such a collaborative way involving students, parents, teachers. It was not an easy feat considering the challenging year that we had. So thank you for making it possible and for leading us through that.
Well, thank you, and I do appreciate all the support. Everybody that has been a part of it has truly made it an easier task, and we are super excited about it. So we're ready to get into the summer and start planning for it and hit the ground running in September. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, we'll move on to agenda item 6, our NJSBA motions. So first, I'd like to thank Ray Pinney from the NJSBA for being so patient through several presentations, and also Dr. Tim Purnell for extending this opportunity to Sparta. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, we will be the first district in the state this evening for the civility pledge and resolution. Okay, so perfect. We're ahead of the curve. Made sure. Thank you so much. So in that case, we are in fact the first district in the state to take a civility pledge this evening. We'll also be adopting the civility resolution. We'll start there, and I will then explain what you see on 6.3, which is a resolution related to employee health care costs. So the reason why we are taking this action this evening, as I mentioned to Mr. Pinney today, the Sparta Board of Education has made a deliberate commitment to governing with transparency, integrity, and respect. As a district, we've witnessed firsthand what happens when civility breaks down. Governance fails, administration and staff become sidetracked, and the students we were elected to serve get lost in the noise. While healthy disagreement is essential and necessary, incivility erodes public trust and makes boards less effective overall. Most stakeholders across the country echo this sentiment, longing for a return to the norms that make democracy work at every level. This is why we are humbled to take the civility pledge and adopt the civility resolution this evening. This milestone reflects not only Sparta's values, but our responsibility as a board to model the standard we hope others will follow. So I will ask that all board members refer to your pledge, which should be right in front of you. We'll make it official. I'll ask you to raise your right hand, why not? And we're going to make sure your microphones are on as well, please. And I'll ask that you repeat after me. I pledge
I pledge
to build a stronger and more effective school board by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others, and their viewpoints, and finding solutions to improve my school district and the children of my community. Thank you. We'll move on to the civility resolution. I would say we can go around. I would like us all to read each one just so that we're moving around. That is, you don't all have to read it individually, just to make sure that people at home understand what we're passing tonight. So I'm going to ask that our Vice President starts us off with 6.2 civility resolution. No, you can, I'm sorry, you can start with whereas and end with whereas. We'll move along.
Perfect. Whereas recent national polls indicate that Americans are dissatisfied with and frustrated by the lack of civility in public discourse today. According to data from 2 national polls, 85% of people said civility in today's society is worse than it was 10 years ago. 73% of people believe that we tolerate outrageous and uncivilized behavior by elected officials, more today than in the past. And 80% of people want and expect government leaders to find common ground. And
Whereas the Board of Education of Sparta Township Public Schools recognizes that freedom of speech and freedom of expression are sacrosanct, protected by both state and federal law, and allow individuals to express their opinions and to communicate ideas. And
Whereas the Board of Education of the Sparta Township Public Schools further recognizes that the public exchange of diverse ideas and varied viewpoints allows for robust discussion and is indispensable to the decision-making process. And
whereas, as elected representatives of the community and stewards of the public trust, the members of the Board of Education of the Sparta Township Public Schools recognize that their position affords them the opportunity to model open, free, and vigorous debate, while also maintaining the highest standards of civility, mutual respect, and decorum. And
whereas the members of the Board of Education of the Sparta Township Public Schools recognize that they are models not only for the community, but also for the students they serve, and
whereas, in order to publicly declare its commitment to civil discourse and to express its concern for the common good and well-being of all students, staff, parents, and community, the Board of Education of the Sparta Township Public Schools has determined to adopt this resolution. Now therefore, be it resolved as follows.
I'll wrap us up. Unless, Chad, did you want to? You finish us out.
The Board of Education of the Sparta Township Public Schools pledge to practice and promote civility, to engage in civil discussions, and to respect and tolerate the viewpoints of others, and to work collaboratively. The Board of Education, the Board of Education, I'm sorry. The Board of Education of the Sparta Township Public Schools pledges to communicate openly, honestly, and transparent as permitted by law, and the Board of Education of the Sparta Township Public Schools enacts a civility pledge to build a stronger and more prosperous school community, to achieve this district's goals, and to advance the education of all students.
Thank you so much. Item 6.3, the employee healthcare costs. This is a little bit of a long one, and I apologize in advance. Thank you, that's helpful. This one's a little bit longer, and I apologize in advance, but it is important. So related to 6.3, you're going to see employee healthcare cost resolution. The NJSBA has been coalescing with their partners at the LEAD Group, which stands for the New Jersey Leadership for Educational Excellence, to build a united front in elevating the harmful impact of the rising costs of healthcare. The LEAD Group submitted a letter to Governor Sherrill and key staff to stress how dire the situation is for districts across the state and the consequences of these costs, ranging from reductions in staff, downsizing, and more. Tonight, the Sparta Board of Education is adopting the NJSBA sample resolution, which will be sent to Governor Sherrill and our legislative leadership to join the NJSBA and LEAD Group's advocacy efforts. We, of course, thank both teams for making this possible for us. Again, this one's long, but we're going to do it the same way, the whereas, and we'll start with whereas, end with whereas. Kim, did you want to start us off?
Sure, I'll go first. Whereas at a time of continued fiscal uncertainty and mounting challenges, local boards of education from across the state of New Jersey continue to suffer under a growing crisis posed by the rising cost of health benefits and are desperate for relief. And
Whereas despite record levels of state investments in public education, these school districts are facing fiscal pressures similar to those confronting the state budget, including the unsustainable growth in healthcare premiums and the mounting insolvency of the state's public employees' health benefits programs. And
Whereas, both within the school's employees' health benefits program and the private market, year over year, double-digit increases are placing tremendous strain on district budgets and local taxpayers alike. And
Whereas Governor Sherrill and legislative leadership have publicly acknowledged the urgent need to address rising healthcare costs and the challenges facing the state's healthcare benefits plans, including both the state and local portions of the state health benefits program and the SEHBP. And
Whereas the seriousness of this issue is underscored by the mid-year SEHBP analysis released by the Treasury Department in March 2026, which concluded that, based on these projected losses and building in future trends, active premium rates increased for 2027 are likely to be in the double digits. And
Whereas these projected increases would allow the 31.9% premium increases that took effect in January 2026, further exacerbating an overall premium increase of nearly 74% in the preceding 5 years. And whereas
This growth in healthcare costs far exceeds inflation, state aid increases, and the fiscal capacity of local communities. And
Whereas rising healthcare premiums are consuming an ever larger portion of already constrained school district budgets, forcing difficult decisions that directly affect students, staff, and educational quality. And
whereas rising healthcare premiums are, oh, sorry, you already read that. Whereas these cost pressures also have significant consequences for taxpayers, as districts are often compelled to utilize the full extent of their available tax levy, even after which many districts remain unable to fully offset these increases due to the constraints of the property tax levy cap, despite the limited healthcare exception. And
whereas for the families and students these districts serve, the downstream consequences, including district deficits, program cuts, and school closures, mean the loss of community stability, continuity of services, and in many cases, access to the specialized supports that our most vulnerable students depend on.
And whereas these are also precisely the conditions that erode student achievement and weaken family engagement that is central to the strengthening New Jersey public schools. And
whereas implementing real sustainable solutions to the rising cost of health benefits and reforming how benefits are delivered through the SEHBP would demonstrate the governor's and legislature's leadership and continued commitment to New Jersey students, educators, and families, which directly advances our shared goal of affordability and effective, efficient government for all New Jerseyans.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Sparta Board of Education in the County of Sussex calls upon the governor and the state legislature to provide immediate, short-term relief from the unsustainable increased healthcare costs experienced by school districts in recent years. And be it further resolved that the Sparta Board of Education in the County of Sussex urges the governor to engage in meaningful engagement with all affected stakeholders to develop and implement practical, long-term reforms to the state's system of delivering healthcare to its public employees in order to generate meaningful, long-term savings. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution will be forwarded to Governor Mikey Sherrill, State Treasurer Aaron Binder, State President Nicholas Guattari, Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, Local State Senator Parker Space, Local State Assembly Representatives Dawn Fantasia and Michael Ganamort, and the New Jersey School Boards Association. With that, may we please have a roll call? First, may I have a motion to approve items 6.1 through 6.3?
Motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, I think we've covered. Anyone? Now may we have a roll call?
Dr. Hinkle,
Yes.
Mr. LaCaruba,
Yes.
Mr. Lowry,
yes?
Dr. Martinez,
Yes.
Ms. Knoll,
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. Serafino?
Yes.
And Ms. Gagnon?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Okay, this evening, we do not have our student representatives present because they're enjoying the prom. So may I have a motion to approve the minutes? Motion. Thank you, Andrew, second.
Second.
Thank you, John, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, and moving on to our superintendent's report.
Thank you. On this evening's agenda, you will see a resolution to revise the 26-27 district calendar as it pertains to elementary parent-teacher conferences. The revision moves parent-teacher conferences from November to December. The rationale is that conferences are currently scheduled earlier in the year, and at that time, teachers do not yet have a clear, full picture understanding of each student to discuss with parents. At this age level, students' abilities and needs can change rapidly from week to week, so allowing more time will help teachers better assess their students and set goals based on individual needs. Additionally, by moving conferences closer to the end of the trimester, teachers would be able to meet with the parents and speak specifically to the report card with more accurate and meaningful information. We have one retirement on this evening's agenda, and that retirement is Dr. Edward Lazara, the principal of Sparta High School. Dr. Lazara has served the district for 5 years and has provided stability to that position. Through the principal interview process, which I'll speak to in a second, I learned that Sparta High School has had 10 principals over the past 22 years. This is one of the criteria prioritized when selecting the next leader of Sparta High School. And speaking of the next leader of Sparta High School, it is with that in mind that we carried out our interviews for who will take over leading Sparta High School on September 1st. There were 23 applicants for this position who came with different administrative and teaching experience backgrounds from assistant principals, instructional supervisors, and directors from varying K-12 levels. For the first round, I invited Dr. Rossi, Dr. Castorina, and the supervisors that work on the high school level to join the interviews. From the first round, we narrowed the applicant pool down to 2 applicants for the second and final interview. For that round, I was joined by Dr. Rossi again, Dr. Castorina again, Ms. Kopf, and the past 2 Governor Educator of the Year Teachers Awards recipients. I'm proud to announce that the decision was unanimous, that Ms. Jamie Barker, present tonight, be selected as the next principal of Sparta High School. Ms. Barker's successful experience in Sparta High School as a student, teacher, coach, assistant principal, and director of student support services placed her as the leading candidate. As a resident of Sparta, her investment in and genuine care for the Sparta school community was also very important to the committee and leads us all to believe she will successfully lead Sparta High School for a long time. Congratulations to Ms. Barker, and I know I speak for many when I say I look forward to continuing to work with you. Although our student representatives are not present this evening as they are enjoying the prom, I feel it is important to draw attention to Resolution 19.16. The position of student representative became a statutory requirement a few years ago and coincidentally was held first by Mr. Wood in the initial year. Their presence and voice at our board meetings has continued to be refreshing and important. The conversations that take place in our pre-meetings are also important to the process. I will thank them and wish them well once again in their final meeting next month in June. And just to take their place a little bit here with athletic achievements, I'll leave it to the student reps in the June meeting to wrap up the spring season, but I want to wish continued success to our teams and individuals still competing in the spring championship season. Girls lacrosse, boys lacrosse, baseball, volleyball, and track and field are all still competing and representing our high school well. And I had a little bit written here for rowing, but I see that they are here. So Dr. Holovax, if you would just want to quick introduce, not quick, but take a moment to introduce your crew there, no pun intended, and their achievements.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good evening. My name is Tim Holovax. I'm the advisor and coach of the Sparta High School Rowing Club. Tonight I wanted to speak a little bit about the club and their accomplishments in the 2026 scholastic rowing season. Beginning in March, we were actually supposed to have our first regatta March 15th. The first regatta was actually canceled because of the weather. We had 18 inches of ice on our lake, so it was a little difficult to get out there and train. But we trained all winter long on the rowing machines at Sparta High School. So beginning in March, we started our scholastic rowing season. We were representing Sparta High School at every Philadelphia Scholastic Rowing Association Philly Flick regatta this year in Philadelphia on the Schuylkill River. In addition to the Philly Flicks, our rowing club sent boats to compete at the Garden State Scholastic Championship in Pennsauken, which was held the last weekend in April. This regatta is the New Jersey Scholastic Rowing Championship and is also a qualifying regatta for the Scholastic Rowing Association of America, the SRAA National Championship Regatta. Due to other commitments, like being at band, we only had a limited number of individuals that were able to compete at this regatta. Our competitive scholastic season culminated on May 2nd and 3rd at the PSRA Philadelphia Scholastic City Championships, which is also a SRAA National Championship qualifying regatta for schools other than New Jersey schools. In the preliminary time trials on Saturday, the Sparta team was represented in 3 boats. The men's novice quad was represented by Hunter Richardson, Noah Fedge, Noah Dunbar, and Braden Libison. The women's novice quad, Abby Hansen, Eve Wilkinson, Patricia Pierchik, and Lily Bunkers, and Marlon Wilson was in the women's JV single. With top 6 boats in each event earning the right to proceed on to finals on Sunday, the girls novice quad successfully advanced, placing 3rd in their time trial. It was very exciting just to get them into finals. If anyone knows Philadelphia, Boathouse Row is enormous, and there's a huge, and I know you know Philly, there's a huge culture of rowing in Philadelphia. So it was a big accomplishment for them just to get to finals. In the finals on Sunday, the girls quad had an even more impressive performance, placing 1st, winning individual gold medals. The girls team was also awarded a plaque, which actually names Sparta High School the winner of the women's novice quad. Had this boat been able to race at the Garden State Scholastic Championships, it's very likely that they actually would have qualified for the SRAA National Championship, earning the right to represent Sparta High School on a national level. This year, the championships were in Tennessee. I'm not sure, they haven't announced it yet, but I think next year they may be in Camden, New Jersey. If that's the case, I would love that quad to be able to represent us again, hopefully making it into the national championships. So these discipline students, we have more than 15 kids that are rowing in the rowing club. We had a bunch that tried it out. Some of you guys may have seen us in the hallways at Sparta High School rowing on the rowing machines all winter long. They've done an excellent job and are very committed and should really, I wanted to make sure that they were their hard work and grit was represented here and recognized here. I'd also ask if we could possibly have the plaque placed somewhere at Sparta High School so that other people may be able to have some inspiration and maybe help to support the club even more. Thank you all very much for your time and consideration, and thank you guys for all your hard work and diligence and hard training. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Great work.
And it's been a while since I deferred the last portion of my superintendent report to Dr. Rossi, but I will do so tonight.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to give a quick update on our implementation of our technology plan. It's something we're really excited about and we feel is really important. It will be a staple in the work we continue to do next year. We are already underway with our cell phone policy, our AI policy, and a technology plan that is no longer mandated by state, but we also feel like being proactive is just as important as being equipped and responsive. And so we developed a technology plan that got approved maybe even early this year, but maybe at the end of last year. And so it was developed with 4 core goals: the use of technology to engage communities. The second goal is finding a balance between digital and interpersonal learning. The third goal is professional development and capacity building. And the fourth goal being innovative learning experiences and enhanced connection and accessibility. So some things that you'll be hearing more about in the future as we have developed these things and we'll begin rolling them out is a review of our one-to-one initiative that started long before the days of COVID and virtual learning. So we're going to take a look at who brings Chromebooks home, what the location of those devices are, and just that management process overall. We think it's time to take a closer look at that. We're continuing to vet our online resources and stay updated on how proficient or data-driven those resources are remaining. We are adopting a district philosophy on technology education. It's aligned with the American Academy of Pediatrics and their recommendations. So more will come out on that to both staff and family members, but the core tenets of that is that our technology integration is purposeful, active, balanced, and monitored. We were fortunate to work with a municipal alliance to get a grant for the Screenager initiative, and there will be a community showing next year. That is also one initiative to continue to engage and support parents at home as partners as we navigate screen usage and technology education. We are developing a K-12 technology scope and sequence to ensure that skills that students develop are organized and cohesive. We're reviewing our web filters, firewalls, and our processes and procedures for reporting concerns, both at a building level and staff level, but also for parents. We have additional trainings planned for Go Guardian, which is our core support that helps monitor student devices, including online activity and supporting classroom instruction in a student-friendly and a safe way. We have these new courses that we're designing that Mr. Tribori recently spoke to, which further acknowledges and supports digital citizenship and also an understanding of how social media works, what algorithms do, and the things to be cautious of with that. We have technology hubs that are going to be released, and that is both for staff, students, and parents. That includes the technology we use, tutorials on that technology, and information about it. We're looking at internship opportunities both for our students and coordinating with the County College of Sussex County Community College that we've worked with in the past. And we're continuing to look at our AI platform that's been adopted and determine the best rollout plans for that in collaboration with our district technology team and our staff at large. So these are some exciting things that are going to continue to be communicated and rolled out to the community and to the staff. And I want to thank all of the people who have been involved in turning a plan into something actually actionable and useful within our school district. And I also just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge, totally separate from this, the SEF. They have a cornament, 6th annual cornament coming up. The tentative date for that is August 29th, and there will be more details coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're all set with yours, right? All right, moving on to the board president's monthly report. I'll keep it brief. It's a busy and fun time of year for our district between award dinners, scholarship recognitions, prom, college selections, graduation, and so much more. I just want to commend my fellow board members for your attendance to these important events and for your commitment to your roles. I'm very, very proud of the resolutions we have on tonight's agenda and the various items we'll be moving, so keep up the great work. And we're not going to do anything with the OPA request, but may I please have a motion to approve the HIB report? Thank you, Rebecca. Second. Thank you, Andrew. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, seeing none. Communications, we'll incorporate that into delegate and liaison reports. Does anyone have anything they'd like to report out?
Yes, so I can talk about the delegate assembly. 2 weeks ago, Caitlin and I attended the delegate assembly. And if you're not familiar with what the delegate assembly is, it's every school district in New Jersey that's represented by the NJSBA comes and we vote on NJSBA policies and bylaws and really just what is this organization going to represent with the voices of all these school districts. I'm going to send a full report to the entire board because it was a lot of information that we were giving there. But some highlights, some of the goals or things that the NJSBA or services that they're working on is they're trying to put together a mentoring program for new board members and for boards in general to work with other districts or more experienced board members. There was a lot when it came to getting resources to districts about education on finance and labor summits and support for negotiators and contract negotiating and best practices on how to advocate for your needs with legislators. And when it came to resolutions, there were quite a few resolutions that were discussed. They were all belief statements, which basically means we vote on, is this something that the NJSBA is going to believe and advocate for? It's not necessarily going to happen, but more of we are going to advocate for these things. And some of the big ones that I think affect Sparta the most is there was a lot to do with financial, because a lot of districts are facing financial problems. There was a resolution similar to like the Highland resolution to say that the school funding formula shouldn't be based on this standard formula, but notice that there are certain districts that, like the districts in the Highlands, that have extenuating circumstances and they should have a different formula. There was another resolution about pilots when contractors are paying these lump sums to towns over taxes, that schools receive or districts receive some of that money as well. And overall about trying to share costs of curriculum with other districts instead of every district having to buy all our own textbooks and programs. Can we partner up with other school districts and get a better deal by buying more programs or more books together? And those were the big ones. And like I said, I'll send out a full report with more details and links to read more about it. I think it was great. And it was nice to see, nice and not nice, but to see that other districts are feeling the same struggle that we are and kind of commiserating, but also looking for solutions together on how are we going to address these needs that the entire state has, not just Sparta or just Sussex County.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else? One thing I'd just like to note as well, in addition to the delegate assembly, we also attended our Sussex County School Boards Association spring dinner. And I would again like to recognize Rebecca Williams and Rocky Martinez for completing their new board member board certification, individual certification through the NJSBA. Once again, keep up the fantastic work. Very good. Anyone else? Tara, thanks for covering the SEF. That sounds like fun. In that case, we will move on to public comment number 1. Before I read this statement, I just want to be clear. If you are here to speak about the preschool, when I was a constituent, it always frustrated me having to find the number. That finance item is 18.3. So public comments are invited on matters pertaining only to action items at this time. Please state the action item number, as well as your name, municipality, and group affiliation if appropriate for the record. Each participant will receive 3 minutes to speak. Once you have had your allotted 3 minutes to speak, you will not be permitted to speak again until public comment number 2. All statements should be directed to me as the presiding officer. The board or administration may or may not respond to any questions or comments after the conclusion of the public participation.
Okay, this is my first time, so bear with me. So I might do this wrong, okay? I am addressing item 18.3. Got that right? Okay, my name is Laura Seck. I live in the Sparta district in the Richmond Hill neighborhood, which is on the border of Andover. I have a daughter in kindergarten, a 3-year-old in the Alpine preschool, and I also have 14-month-old twins at home. So I am very invested in this preschool program. I think that long term, this sounds amazing. Your presentation was great. My concern is getting these grounds ready for September. I work full time, but I still took some time out of my day after drop off at Alpine to drive by the Milton School with my twins in tow. And I was able to kind of get in the parking lots and around to kind of check it out a little bit. And it was a little concerning to me. It looks like it really hasn't been that well maintained. There is no playground on premise. And, like the blacktop, there's grass growing out of it. And and, you know, I was not sure what the air conditioning situation is. And so, am I allowed to ask questions? Absolutely. Okay. And so my question is, I have a lot of questions, but my first question is, what is the plan to get this school ready for school to start in September, which is only 3 months away? That's my first
Ask your
question.
questions, and we only have 3 minutes, so ask your questions.
Okay,
And then
okay.
we'll answer as many as we can at the end.
Okay. Will there be specials for the preschool students, such as, you know, gym? Is there a gym? Is there a cafeteria? You know, will there be an art room, et cetera? And my second question to that is, will the specials start in, you know, that little trailer section at Alpine for the elementary school students right away in September? Okay, that's part 2 to that one. And did you consider redoing the lottery or aligning who goes up to Milton and who stays in the lower? And by lower, I mean not up the mountain. For those of us who live on the side of town that's 20 minutes away, did you consider aligning it by address for those to stay in the private schools? Was that 3 minutes? Okay, I got a good amount in.
You did great. Also, there's public comment number 2, so feel free to come up a second time, and you're more than welcome to have the questions answered.
Okay, so, okay.
Thank you so much. And just to be clear, we're not avoiding your questions. We wait until everyone speaks, and then we answer as many questions as we can at the end.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out. Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, Dan Gunlack, Sparta. Couple of questions on 18.3. I'd like to understand a little bit more about the number of students that you referenced, Dr. Beck, that are in the pre-K program. Because I thought you said 360 currently, plus another 80 or so that are on a wait list. That's 440. I know you're going to continue to use, you said, Goddard and another facility that's still in town, but there's 14 classrooms in Milton, right? So what does that equate to on average, the number of kids per classroom? Because when I started doing the math, I said 14 into 440 doesn't sound like a reasonable number per class, so I'm sure I'm missing something there. So if you could clarify that, whether it's tonight or going forward, so that parents would understand. I would suggest or highly recommend that you do a formal inspection of the premises based upon the previous comment that you just heard. You know, while you're signing a lease, there's always challenges between landlords and those that lease those properties. You should make sure, because of what you're doing, that you get good inspections, that you know if there was a mold program, how it was remediated. Is the roof leaking? How's the plumbing? What's the water? Have the water tested? All those things that you would test if you were going to live there, right, and your family was going to live there. Who's responsible for the building once we lease it in terms of fixing things? Is that something that's on us and that the state funding may not provide for if something happens, like the heating system fails and it's a dramatic failure, just as an example? I'd like to know personally how old the Milton School is and how long it's been closed. I think you alluded to the fact that it's currently being used for some special education needs, so is that just a small portion of the school? So are you leasing 50% of it, 80% of it, 90% of it? Is there already a security guard there? Is there already a nurse there? Is there already a principal there? So you're now just, again, duplicating it, but just for the preschool program, right? I think a lot of parents are going to have questions about transportation details, which I know you referred to. Getting back to the school itself, you know, how old is the school? What's the history of that school? And why did they really close it? Is it because it's the oldest that's in their infrastructure? And how does it compare to our existing schools? I know, Mr. Martinez, you referenced to 0.5% in terms of cost. So I wasn't able to quite follow what you meant by that. So if you could elaborate a little bit more about what you were referring to, okay? Because it confused me a little bit, Because when we say there really isn't any cost to the taxpayer as long as we continue to qualify for this state funding program. However, when you say 0.5%, it's telling me, is there an incremental cost to the taxpayers of the town because you're changing the location? Thank you very much.
Great timing.
Hi, Danielle Tarvin, a Sparta resident. As a parent of a Sparta middle school student, I have received 18 emails from Superintendent Beck this school year. As a homeowner, taxpayer, and parent, I have received 12 emails regarding the bond referendum, a referendum that did not address preschool prior to this meeting. I did go back and check those materials that were publicly distributed to confirm that information. As a parent of an incoming preschooler, I have received 10 emails regarding registration, lottery, placement preference, and placement for the upcoming school year. I read through the public budget information. I reread the April Board of Ed newsletter in hopes that I had missed something regarding the vote that is about to take place tonight, a vote that has the potential to impact your preschool universe of 360 students. The fact that I have received over 30 district-level emails this year and not one email regarding a vote that is about to take place tonight for a 5-year commitment to the youngest children in this school district for a school that is 9 miles from the closest school in this district feels intentional. Although many of my original questions I came here with tonight have been answered in your presentation, I do question who that presentation was for, since it was not even listed on the agenda. I find it misleading that you've continued to reference that everything will be covered through the PEA funding. The PEA budget was approved at the public hearing as part of the entire budget last month, yet none of this was mentioned at that time. Also, you continue to mention that the wait list students will be served. Will this occur during the 26-27 school year? If so, how? The PEA funding would have been based on projections that were previously submitted. Did you submit and receive funding for 360 students that will allow you to hire the additional teachers and teacher assistants to serve those students? Again, you did not mention the food service, which someone else had mentioned. What is the plan for that? PEA is dictated strictly by administrative code. A nurse is required for every 300 students. If we are going to serve 360 students, are we hiring a second nurse? Is there a plan for that? 1 PERS for 20 classrooms. If we're going to serve 360 students, we are now up to 24 classrooms if there's 15 students in each classroom, which is the maximum, which requires 2 PERS. Has that been considered? Although growth can be good, rapid growth like this with no communication or input from the stakeholders that are mostly impacted by this decision seems like something that would be better suited for 27, 28. As the individuals that sit here before me that we rely on to make the decisions that are in the best interest of our children, my 3-year-old, who I still need to go home and put to bed, if you do not have the answers to all of these questions, I urge you to table this vote for this evening.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment number 1?
Hello, I'm addressing 18.3. My name is Jessica Trappy. I live in Sparta Lake. I have a 3-year-old in the Helen Morgan School. My question is, will there be a form to submit to change schools if my son's already in the program, so if we did want to change schools, if he is now going to the Milton School, if we didn't want to go to the Milton School, can we resubmit, I guess, like a change? If the lottery, I know those forms have already been placed out, if that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm saying yes, not to confirm the answer to your question, but I understand completely, and when we're done with public comment, we'll absolutely answer all questions.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi. I only have one question since there were a few speakers with excellent questions before. There's a rumor about the time of the school. I heard like 9:45, which is for a toddler like lunchtime basically. And for a working parent, it's very hard. So right now my son is in Little Genius, which is 9:20. I can barely make it to work on time. Now it's even later, and then I have a kindergartner, then first grader, with apparently the same dismissal time. I have the problem now that I can't use busing, so I drive around in town like a crazy person. And I don't think that is very funny because I'm stressed. I'm stressed out of my mind. And now I don't even know how I should make that work. Now, 2 different bus stops again. I really was looking forward to having them on the same bus and just be like relaxed for at least like 2 years that they could go to the same school. And then one other thing, anyone involved here have a preschooler? Like, you all made this decision probably without a kid involved, right? So you should have at least talked to some affected families and not just make a decision for like 5 years. And it really is really hard on some families because not everyone can afford to then switch to a private preschool again. So.
I'm sorry, may I ask your name? Rafaela Wills. Thank you. Anyone else for public comment number 1?
Dana Galino, 26 Valley View Trail. This year, the Sparta School District received an unprecedented increase to their group health plan. We are all paying more for health care this year, and even higher increases are predicted for next year. Many middle-class families are expecting to take home lower pay this year due to increased health care costs despite salary increases. In addition to the rising health care costs, our district state funding decreased by $185,000. While our municipal taxes will increase by approximately 10%, and our county taxes will increase by approximately 4%, the Sparta Board of Ed was able to balance the budget with only a 2.99% increase to school taxes. Accomplishing that in a year like this is a feat in itself. Introducing free universal preschool for all Spartan children in the same year is monumental. Free universal preschool provides equitable classroom access to all children and early exposure to cognitive, language, and motor skills. It's an economic driver that allows parents to re-enter the workforce earlier than planned, as well as increase disposable income, which will pump money into our local businesses and boost our community's economy. This solution not only benefits families with children in preschool, but will make Sparta a more desirable town to live in. Universal preschool is a selling point in New Jersey, and towns with high-quality universal preschool programs attract young professionals, which will drive up the value of our real estate. I understand that there might be some folks not happy with the location of the school. Please be reminded of 2 things. Number 1, this arrangement is temporary. This is an interim solution until our in-town school buildings can adequately house all Spartan children. Number 2, our overcrowding problem will be addressed by the referendum. When the first one didn't pass, our board agreed to go back to the drawing board to reprioritize the next referendum to address more constituents' concerns. The faster we can pass a referendum to expand our buildings, the faster we can bring preschool to a Sparta building. My husband and I are a 2-salary household with 3 children. We paid $85,000 to send our 3 kids to preschool for 2 years each. I'm about to send my oldest to a college that costs $75,000 a year, and I could really use that $85,000 right now. And I'm so happy that Spartan families with young children will now be able to alleviate one of their biggest monthly line items, preschool, in order to maybe save for college, allow a parent to go back to work, replace their roof, invest for retirement, buy groceries, put in a pool, spend it at Marshall's. I don't care. The fact is that free universal preschool will allow some families who are wondering how they are going to afford their monthly bills breathe a little easier. Preschools in town cost upward of $1,500 per month per child. Many of our residents are working just to afford preschool at this point. Many do not work because preschool is too expensive. I want to thank this Board of Ed for not giving up on the overcrowding issue once the referendum did not pass. I want to thank you for providing a viable interim solution that will benefit so many families
Ms.
wondering.
Galino. I'm sorry, that's time.
just going to finish a little bit. A couple of months ago, I know someone was talking about a softball field, and you just let them finish. I just want to finish. Thank you. I want to
Maybe
thank
10
this Board of
seconds.
Education for not giving up on an overcrowding issue once the referendum did not pass. I want to thank you for providing a viable interim solution that will benefit so many families wondering how they are going to afford preschool and healthcare in the next coming years. And I want to thank you for keeping Sparta a competitive, forward-thinking town that stands out among the rest.
Thank you. There it goes. Anyone else for public comment number 1?
Hi there. Jen Hamilton, 37 Holland Circle. I am here to speak. I actually have 2 things to speak on, but I'm going to speak first on 18.16 and 17. Bad legal advice costs our taxpayers money. By way of backstory, recently I was in a situation where a child of mine, high school sophomore, was supposed to go on a field trip from the school. Due to a conflict, he was no longer able to take district-approved busing to the field trip. It was a multi-day field trip, so I offered to transport my child at my own expense on a field trip that cost upwards of $1,000. I did not ask for a penny from the district. I didn't ask them to make any changes to their plans. The only thing I asked for was a timely response, which I'll get to that part in second public comment. And the response that I got back was that our school stands in loco parentis of all students while traveling to school events. In loco parentis is a very well-known legal doctrine. And I think most people understand that in loco parentis talks about while a child is in the school's care. What I was asking was to transport my own child separate from the school. I was not asking for the school to approve a separate form of transportation through their normal processes that other students could take. I simply was asking to transport my child on my own dime and by myself. The school denied me that. They told me I could transport him, but only if I accompanied him and made a face-to-face handoff to the teacher who was on that field trip. At no point in any other time in this school history is a student required or is a parent required to make a face-to-face handoff with a faculty member when dropping their child at school or a school event. I have 2 children in the district. They play sports. Oftentimes, they cannot take district-approved transportation, and somebody drives them, drops them, and leaves. We have never once made face-to-face contact with a teacher, a faculty member, an advisor when we are dropping our child at school. But instead of recognizing that this is something that happens all of the time, we were told that transit to the event puts the district in a position of liability. That is patently untrue. I explicitly offered to waive in writing any liability that the district may encounter and was told that they would not allow me to do that. So I just ask you to consider before renewing the attorneys, I don't know which attorney it was, before renewing the attorneys tonight, I ask you to consider the legal counsel that you are getting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment number 1? You sure? Okay, seeing no one, motion to close. Thank you, Andrew, second.
Second.
Ooh, was that Dom? Thank you, Dom. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, moving on. May I please have a motion to move personnel, or excuse me, before we do that, thank you. We have to address the questions that raised. Sorry, there's many pages. Okay. I will let's just see here.
through?
Want to go through it?
Yeah, I'll do my best to go through as many questions as I picked up. The concerns about Milton School and about the school grounds and the plan to get the school ready, I actually met with Buildings and Grounds today, and there is a plan that allows us over 2 months to prepare that school building, and it will be all hands on deck, and we will get that school building prepared inside and out. The programming will remain the same. There is a gym and cafeteria. The specials at Alpine School will be up and running for the start of the school year. And do we consider a lottery system based on location? I think I spoke to that before when I talked about the private providers. And the location, in my mind, the location is perspective. If you live on Edison and you're going to Alpine right now, that's going to be that's the same amount of commuting time as the opposite. Number of students in the program, the goal is to ultimately hit 360. That's the pre-K universe that we're going to ultimately hit. Right now, I'd have to look back, but I'd have to look back at the actual numbers, but each of our classrooms for pre-K, except for self-contained, contains 15 students. So if you do the math from the presentation, which I'll share, it's that many classrooms times 15 to show you where we're at and where we're going to be. I referenced before that it was closed due to budget reasons. Lack of pre-K communication was brought up. I think we addressed that, the reasons for that before. As far as the funding goes, we do have carryover funding that is available based on our plan for this year that was to add 4 classrooms in a facility that did not come to fruition, so the carryover funds are there. Again, with the resubmitting of the request based on location, we addressed that. Start time, the end time we're looking at is about 15 minutes later than the current end time, and the start time for logistical reasons is we're looking at 9:45, 10 o'clock in that range because of transportation reasons and also because that is how we will get our teachers their preps before the school day starts. Thank you, Ms. Galino, for your support on pre-K, and I unfortunately cannot comment on a student matter.
A few items too from Mr. Gunlag, I just want to make sure we also hit. In regards to, I think there might have been some confusion regarding special education. We don't currently offer special education there. There's another special education provider that has been utilizing that building. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure what grade level, but either way, another provider was utilizing that building. So that building was not vacant. It was being utilized by another leased situation. Now that they're transitioning to another available district or another available building in that district and shifting out of that building, it made Milton School available, which is why we have that.
Yeah, currently being utilized as we speak.
Perfect,
Yeah.
exactly. So on top of that, let me just see here. All those points are noted regarding the comparison to our existing schools. Again, I also appreciate Ms. Galino's support. This does not alleviate the need for a referendum. It buys us time to find viable solutions to a referendum. That point cannot be stressed enough. As much as this is going to help us when it comes to the overcrowding at Alpine and find immediate solutions, we still have building level issues to address across this entire district. We at least now have the time. We were originally told from shovel in the ground until completion, it was going to be about 3 years for the first referendum that we approached. Under that mentality, we at least have some buffer now where our overcrowding won't continue to bleed us out while we work with the community to hopefully find a new, more appropriate solution to the referendum issue.
And
So
that's 3 years once shovel's in the ground, but it's also a 1 to 2 year process, planning and then getting it out to vote. So there's your 5 years.
100% correct. So I think it's just very important to understand that the goal is still a referendum. What that looks like compared obviously will change. Bear with me one moment. I'm just reviewing my notes. You answered all of these. Regarding specifically a form to submit a request to change schools, I don't know if that's something, I think if it's.
No, we addressed it.
Yeah,
We
you
addressed
did,
it.
you covered that? Okay, just making sure, I'm going through my notes. Time we covered. And regarding the email correspondence, actually, if you can maybe speak to that. In terms of the fact that there was a speaker, Ms. Tarvan, who mentioned 10 emails regarding the lottery, 30 emails regarding various district correspondence, and then no emails relating to the preschool. potential. Can you maybe explain what the reasoning is there? And I just want to make sure we reiterate, it is certainly not the intention of this Board of Education to hide anything from the public, but there's an ethical way and procedure to how we do things. So I don't know if you could speak to that.
Right, until any sort of formal documentation regarding an actual tentative agreement pending ratification from both the Sparta Board of Ed and the Jefferson Board of Ed, essentially all conversations are confidential as it relates to potential developments within acquisitions of property, which is a confidential item under the Open Public Meetings Act.
Thank you so much. And we answered this one from Ms. Trapp. I do apologize. I was in no way smiling or laughing at your comment. It was Ms. Wills, I believe. It was the crazy driver comment that made me chuckle. It wasn't meant to be inappropriate in any way. I absolutely... We will. Unfortunately, it's not a back and forth. I'm going through all of the questions. The comment that was made regarding the fact that board members, because perhaps all of us don't have preschool children, we're not making informed decisions. I don't agree with that. That's also an assumption that's frankly borderline not accurate. So I want to make sure that it's understood that the decision-making that is made at this board level is indicative of the best interests of every student, every child, including those that are currently on a wait list waiting for access to public education at the preschool level. Transportation details, I do believe this is something we've discussed at length. This is something that I think will be better served to report out maybe more in depth on by next meeting. The original plan was to have a formal presentation to follow the order and have a formal presentation at our June meeting to really give the public all of the information possible after tonight's passage. But because of the discussion that's taken place, we realize there is a clear need for a preliminary presentation. And I'd like to thank the administration for working quickly to make sure that we presented that accurately, and also our field service representative for recommending the addendum to tonight's agenda. Once again, that was not an attempt to deceive or not involve the public. It's a direct response to the public's response to make sure that the information that's being relayed is what was requested. And with that, unfortunately, I also cannot speak to the comments, although I will say to Ms. Hamilton, I am beyond pleased with our legal representation at this time, and if any board member feels otherwise, feel free to speak about that. We are moved on from public comment. May I please have a motion for personnel and policy items? Bear with me, I have them written down. 16.1 through 16.43.
Motion to move.
That was a lot. I'm going to say thank you, Rocky. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Dom. Discussion.
Okay, I'm going to keep this brief because we actually had a relatively brief meeting in comparison to some previous ones. Congratulations to Mr. Lazara on his retirement and for serving the district for the past 5 years. When it comes to the policy audit in May, as you noticed, there's just a couple policies up for first reading because we were really just diving in deep on a couple important ones. We were looking into our AI policy, or really just our technology policy and how that incorporated AI to make sure that that was up to standard, especially with legal code, and looking a little more closely at our cell phone policy as those laws are now coming out. We were pretty ahead of the curve, but just some minor changes and some minor payroll changes. I wouldn't say anything super significant. A lot more to do next month. The list is long for next month.
I do agree. And I also thought it was funny. We reached out to Strauss regarding the cell phone initiative, and we were ready to move it this evening, but we were basically advised by Strauss to hold off because they realized in their leadership meetings that their recommended template was actually behind and not accurate in terms of what the code actually recommended or what the original intent was behind it. So our current policy as it stands is more in compliance with the law, I would say, than the template they recommended. So they're in the process of revising that, and we'll have a revised template over to us for review, hopefully for our next meeting. And anything else? I too want to congratulate Ms. Barker. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Lazara, for your service. And with that, roll call, please.
I just want.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Rocky. Go
So
ahead.
when are we going to tackle social media? Do you have a timeline or?
So where we stand right now, our Strauss Esme policy audit is essentially complete, with the exception of the one or two that we just mentioned that are
Right.
getting kicked back to the next month. Once that's done, technically our policy audit, at least through Strauss, is complete. The NJSBA wellness policy audit is a little bit more comprehensive in that they don't necessarily flag your policies. They just primarily tell you. They have an audit version that does. In this version, it's more that they primarily tell you which policies should be frequently revisited by boards of education on a regular timeline. That is included. So the goal is, while technically our policy audit process will be complete, we would like to shift our focus now to the NJSBA wellness policy alert or audit and see what, if any, policies through that we want to update rather than tackling the ones that we absolutely had to update through
Right.
Strauss.
Okay.
So coming soon. I know it's a little bit of a timeline, but I can assure you that the amount of work that it takes to get the templates, and again, Melanie's awesome at this, but getting the templates from Strauss, getting our versions pulled, redlining appropriately, combing through everything, having the committee discussions with administration, it's a process, so we certainly don't want to rush through it.
No, fair.
But yes, to come, and I think over the summer would also be appropriate, so. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Hinkle. Mr. LaCaruba?
Yes, but abstain from item 16.43.
16.4, did you say? Thank you. Mr. Lowry? Dr. Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. Serafino?
Yes.
And Ms. Gagnon?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Moving on to curriculum items, may I have a motion to move curriculum items 17.1 through 17.8? Thank you, Chad. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Andrew. Discussion.
All right. Not to harp on the technology plan again, but that was a big focus of our meeting. It's been talked at liberty at this meeting. Additionally, we're doing some math programming review, and I think this kind of created an interesting opportunity for us. Currently, we use Envision Mathematics to support our learners, and we were looking into a program called iReady, which has been emerging as a leading option from high-performing school districts, but there were some concerns about the program, so fortunately, Envision Mathematics allowed us to extend our license through the 2026-2027 school year at no additional cost, which will allow us to continue using our current program while also considering getting a new program. And then in terms of some other things, she also mentioned the SEF grants. No, that's not true. But the Sparta Education Foundation, we receive grants, and the grants are supporting teachers' initiatives. This is really exciting because it includes proposals like classroom furniture and seating options designated to enhance student engagement. And this is especially important for diverse learners, including students with IEPs. And this is really, you see a lot of this in the high school, and I'm just excited to see that more teachers are hopping on this opportunity. I know that our district really utilizes the SEF for the funding, and it is really helpful for high school teachers and other teachers in the district that want to pursue different things for their classrooms and make it more personalized. And there are 3 new academic middle school cycle courses that were reviewed, and these are, as Mr. Tribori talked about extensively, we have a lot of new middle school options, and it's really exciting to see how course offerings are expanding and club offerings are expanding. Some really exciting work.
Excellent. Thank you, Chad. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Dr. Hinkle? Mr. LaCaruba?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Dr. Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. Serafino?
Yes.
And Ms. Gagnon?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Moving on to finance, may I have a motion to move items 18.1 through 18.45?
Motion.
Thank you, Rafi. Second. Second. Thank you, Rebecca. Discussion.
Let's see, this month. Transportation, final end-of-year push. The extended ESY, or extended school year routes are all complete. I'd like to make we cheer on our students, but I'd like to cheer on one of our transportation professionals, Deborah Beltran. She's going to be competing in school bus safety competition. And the reason I bring this up is because we asked for excellence from everybody in our district, and Deborah's stepping up and showing that the excellence even in transportation. I also want to point out, which is relevant to what we're doing tonight, Alpine, a fire marshal, was inspected the building, and we received a violation for various tables, cabinets, furniture, and general storage in the hallways, which is another reason why we need to pass this lease to get that, fix that situation in Alpine. Buildings and grounds, both cameras for security in Helen Morgan are now fixed and operational, and the turf field in the high school has been fixed. Our lunch balances are back to, in arrears, an amount that we were last year. We were hoping not to get there this year. It's roughly $38,000, a jump of $18,000 through the year, and we're not done with the school year, so that may grow. Again, I'll ask anybody who hasn't checked their lunch balances, please do so and pay what you can. If you need help, please ask somebody in the building. There is nothing wrong with asking for help. It's there. Please ask for it. We are discussing in committee to not allow students to buy extras. We firmly believe that every student needs to have a lunch and a breakfast, which I personally don't mind paying in arrears. But if you're going to go buy ice cream or cookies after that, we are going to pilot in September for some point of time to not allow that to happen. So if you're in arrears, you don't get ice cream or cookies, but you will get your lunch and your breakfast. And we'll continue having those discussions as we go through. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Dr. Hinkle. Mr. LaCaruba?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Dr. Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. Serafino?
Yes.
And Ms. Gagnon?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Moving on to operations, may I please have a motion to move items 19.1 through 19.17?
Motion.
Thank you, John. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Or thank you, Rocky, excuse me. Discussion, please. Well, you covered most of it, did you not?
Yeah, I just want to say these are things that happen every time at this year. It looks like a lot, but Barbara goes at pains to make sure we only pass the ones we need to pass, and in committee, it was clearly that we are passing exactly what we need, nothing anything extra.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please.
Dr. Hinkle? Mr. LaCaruba?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Dr. Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. Serafino?
Yes.
And Ms. Gagnon?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. May I please, we're moving on to renewals, actually. May I please have a motion to move items 20.1 through 20.42? Thank you, Andrew. Second. Thank you, Emily. I don't believe we require much discussion. This is standard practice around this time of year, just renewing our existing agreements. Nothing in particular that I would say we need to draw attention to. If anyone has any questions, of course, reach out to us. Roll call, please.
Dr. Hinkle? Mr. LaCaruba?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Dr. Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Ms. Serafino?
Yes.
And Ms. Gagnon?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. Moving on to old business. Does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss for old business?
I just want to remind everyone that we are going to be having our final board training on June 6th, 10 a.m. to 1. The public is invited if you would like to see us evaluate ourselves. And then we'll be done with our board certification. That is the last requirement, and we will celebrate in the fall at our county meeting.
Can't wait. Thank you. Anyone else for old business? Anything they'd like to discuss? Anyone for new business? Nothing for new? Okay. With that, we'll move on to public comment number 2. The board uses the second public comment period to invite comments on all matters pertaining to the school district. Please state your name, municipality, and group affiliation if appropriate for the record. Each participant will receive 3 minutes to speak. Once you have had your allotted 3 minutes to speak, you will not be permitted to speak again. All statements should be directed to me as the presiding officer. The board or administration may or may not respond to any questions or comments after the conclusion of the public participation.
Hello, my name is Eve Wilkinson. I am a freshman at Sparta High School, and I'm hoping to expand on what my coach said before about what rowing means to us. Rowing has been such a unique experience. Until this year, I'd never met a rower. I've met lacrosse players, football players, even Taekwondo students, but never a rower. The opportunity to be a part of this club is truly unique. I have met new people, and I've bonded with each one of them. The team is full of truly amazing people, and I'm so proud of what we were able to accomplish in just a few weeks. I know 3 of us in my quad that raced had only started rowing for 3 months before we joined our first race. And to be honest, expectations were low. We decided the day before our race that we should all wear neon pink because everyone was going to want to keep their eyes on us. I don't think any of us were prepared for the journey ahead. As our bonds grew tighter and our friendships grew stronger, our boat races became faster. We put in countless hours of hard work, and after some crazy long, painful days with torn up hands, cold weather, and miles on the erg, we became stronger. Our team was becoming more like a family, and our rowing was getting better and better. In our 3rd race ever as a quad, we secured a spot in the finals the next day, and at finals our quad took an incredible 1st place. Rowing isn't just great because of the wins and the glory, but also because of the incredible people who make the team so special, like the people on the team and our coaches. Rowing is truly one of the most rewarding and terrific experiences of my life. I've been taught how to push through when things get tough, and that when things are hard, there's always someone you can look to help you through it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that rowing is special for so many reasons, but it's really the people that you can count on that make it special. I mean, you have to be something special and want to row 5 miles every day. And these people don't just have the discipline and the respect, but optimism and kindness, making them the greatest people you'll ever meet, and rowing one of the greatest sports. With your help and support, I know our rowing team could be taken to the next level. Thank you.
I usually wait till the end, but congratulations again, and we look forward to supporting you in every way we can. So thank you.
Good evening, Jenny Derricks, Tap into Sparta. I just had a variety of questions. What will happen to the Russian program at the high school? How will they be provided for with, my understanding, no Russian teachers? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Please let me know. Will Sparta Middle School, will the new financial literacy program class satisfy the credits at the high school for that program? Can you clarify the number of pre-K students? A couple numbers have been bounced around, and I really appreciate Barbara's thorough response to an email that I had sent earlier, and she indicated 160 students. I've heard 360. I know that maybe that's aspirational. Maybe you can clarify that for me. Will there be, one of the questions that I didn't hear an answer to, we have excellent security at our schools here in Sparta. Will there be some level, can you explain the level of security that parents can expect at the Milton School? And last year, the lunch bills, the arrears for the lunch, for the cafeteria charges were primarily at the high school. If you can speak to if that's still the case. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment number 2?
My kids went to Milton School. It's a beautiful school.
Okay, Laura Seck again, to speak on item number 18.3. I just wanted to come up and ask a couple questions that weren't, addressed, and that is, will a playground be built? Okay. Let's say there's an opening at one of the lower private schools, Goddard, Oak Tree, et cetera, because some of the families wanted to be closer to their home up at Milton. What does the process for that look like? Like, will there be, can we sign up for something, like a waiting list? And I also wanted to re-ask the question about like the gymnasium and the other specials for the preschool? And the second part of that question, for Alpine as well, will they start immediately in September? Did you answer that? Okay, I'm sorry. Then forget about that one. And that's all I have, okay? Thanks so much.
Anyone else for public comment number 2?
Part 2. I know 3 minutes is not really enough time to get everything out and fully inform you guys, so apologies if it's really vague. But part 2 of Jen Hamilton, 37 Holland Circle. Part 2 of what I want to say goes to the timeliness of all of this. So the issue that we had gave us 2 weeks' notice, and we provided the school district with that 2-week notice. Immediately upon finding out that he wasn't going to be able to take district-approved transportation, we immediately contacted the chaperone of the trip, who immediately contacted the principal of Sparta High School. Dr. Lazara asked a couple of questions. We responded to those questions, and 10 days went by. 10 days went by with no response, in which time I booked a flight for my child because I had no response telling me that I couldn't do that. We made plans for him to travel to this field trip, and with 24 hours prior to his flight, which was less than 12 hours prior to when the bus pulled out of Sparta High School, is when we got notification from Dr. Lazara that this was not going to be approved and he was not going to be permitted to be part of the field trip that we paid for, that we were transporting him for on our own dime, without me accompanying him to drop him off. When I got that information, I called immediately to Dr. Beck's office, and multiple phone calls went unanswered, multiple voice messages went unresponded to. I sent an email specifically in the title saying urgent, time-sensitive issue, and that was at 4 o'clock the day before. They were supposed to leave at 5 a.m. Dr. Beck did not respond to my email until 10:56 in the morning, 5+ hours after the bus departed from Sparta High School. This failure to communicate, this failure to contact a parent with a time-sensitive issue directly caused my family to spend about $1,000 to ensure that my child could participate in the field trip that I already paid $1,000 for. This is just unacceptable. You're a very well-paid superintendent and a well-paid principal in this district. Lack of communication to a parent when there's a time-sensitive, urgent issue is just not something that we should accept in this district.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment number 2? Okay. Motion to close? Thank you, Rocky. Second. Thank you, Andrew. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, I'll let you start.
The Russian program at the high school will continue, as it has. The number of pre-K students, I was just doing the math. Was not able to complete the math, but moving to 20 classrooms next year times 15, it will be 300 students, which is significantly more than we are servicing in the current year. The pre-K universe, again, is the goal of 360. So that is the goal to arrive at. A playground will be at the Milton School, a pre-K playground. The process for transfer, I think I went over it. But if and when there are seats that are open, we'll discuss it with the pre-K team and we'll notify the parents. There is a gymnasium at the Milton School, but our students are, I'll let Tara answer that. Dr. Rossi answer that one, actually.
Sure. All right, so I'll start with that one then. Currently, pre-K students don't get specials in the way that grades K through 2 get specials. Pre-K uses the creative curriculum is what it's called. It's a state-recommended, state-based program, and it is a play-based, hands-on exploration program. there are 11 distinct areas that the classroom is designed to provide for independent exploration and play, and that's where those kind of special areas are incorporated. They have areas like blocks and dramatic play, toys, games, and discovery tables, art, music, and movement, and library, sand, water, cooking, and outdoor spaces. So that's where they get the exposure to that kind of learning through that specific play-based curriculum. And then I guess just while I have a chance to respond to the others, just piggybacking off of what Dr. Beck said. So Mr. Tribori kind of talked about the exposure to language that we have right now in the district. K through 5 is Spanish. When students are now learning a language, also based on the numbers, Spanish and French at the middle school level will be what students have access to. And when they are now able to actually start studying language, they'll have access to all 4 languages at the high school: Spanish, French, Russian, and German. We do have those teachers in place, and kids will be able to start at level 1 and move through into the levels that they have access to right now. And then the last question I think I have is that financial literacy will meet the requirement, and students will be able to get credits for that. That won't begin until the 27-28 school year when it's rolled out, and it will backtrack into any of those courses that the students already have prior to being enrolled at the high school level.
And lastly, again, I can't comment on student matters. I wish I could shed some more light on the decision-making process, which always centers around the best interest of students and student safety. But I can comment on my communication. I'm not sure what my salary has to do with my communication practices, but I can tell you that I did respond in a timely manner when it was brought to my attention. I was in meetings that day. I was in the thick of budget season and planning, obviously, what you've seen tonight, and I responded in a timely manner when it was brought to my attention.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Security, yes, I talked about that before. We will have a security guard at Milton School, a full-time security guard, and you can expect the same level of security that you see at our other buildings.
Sorry, Jenny. Anyone else? Comments on that? We're good. In that case, moving on to the good of the order. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order? Michelle, can you talk into your mic a little bit closer? I don't know if it's on. I'm going to assume it's on, but if you could talk closer.
Yeah, I just wanted to share some good programming that I've been able to observe at the middle school and at Helen Morgan School lately. As September, or not September, it feels like September, but May is so busy with all sorts of activities to go to, but I was able to go to many track meets this year, and I think that the track team at the middle school is really outstanding, and the coaches do a fantastic job with a large number of students. 6th through 8th grade, everybody can participate if they want to. They're able to do the events that they excel in and that they enjoy. I observe students cheering for each other, having really great sportsmanship with themselves and with other teams, and I look at them and they look like they're having a great time. I think it's thanks to their coaches, Ms. Gleason, Ms. Vreeland, Mr. Papa, and Mr. Mazzoni. So I just wanted to share that with the board. Also, the middle school chorus programming is just phenomenal. Mrs. Fortunato does an amazing job with the students. During concerts, she encourages leadership with all of the students. The students sing with one another. She picks excellent songs. The students have input into their songs. It's just really great. So I urge you all to attend if you ever can. I think all of the clubs at the middle school have been great. All the sports activities and the music programming was wonderful. Helen Morgan School also, Ms. Negro did a wonderful job with their concert recently. Unfortunately, they weren't able to have a December concert due to snow, but they had one in May, and the 4th and 5th graders just did an outstanding job. And also Ms. Yang with the strings. She does a phenomenal job with them. Most, I would assume, the students, this is the first time they're ever picking up an instrument, and they do a really great job. 4th grade, you would never even know when they played together. They've got to play with the symphony, the Sussex County Symphony this year, and they just do a really wonderful job. So I thank you to all of the programming and to the leadership at those schools who support all that. I want to let the board know.
Beautifully said, Michelle. Anyone else? Andrew, go right ahead.
Last meeting, I mentioned something at the end about how important listening is, and I just wanted to reiterate that while we do like to listen to people's comments at all times, we also listen to the voting taxpayers. And at the referendum, when we lost our steam, I was discouraged, but windfall. I would say it's a windfall. So having something like this come our way is exciting, and I'm optimistic, and I'm still listening. So thanks.
I would also like to piggyback on what Andrew just said. We talked also at the last meeting of the ability of the administrators and the staff at these schools that we are all in love with to grow through the pain of this budget season. We could have just put our heads down and said, well, we're beat, but we didn't. And some of the efforts that have been put in through this budget season, we're now seeing come to fruition through the efforts of getting this new school online and having these new courses be ready to go for next year. This is a monumental task, and we could have said it's not the right time to take this on, but we did not say that. He said we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and I think that nothing is perfect, but it's good. Perfect shouldn't be the enemy of good. And I really think that we're moving in the right direction, and I thank the public for their patience in this process. It is a process, and it's going to take time, but we have the energy and the talent here to make it happen.
That's great, Andrew, or excuse me, Dom, Slate. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what you both said. I think as much as I believe that we all do strive to listen, I also want the public to be assured that we are hearing what they're saying. I think that's a value that we all share, and I think it's a value that we share with the administration as well. Speaking of that, we've mentioned it in the past in newsletters and just general correspondence that unfortunately social media is not usually the most reliable source of news. So if any questions weren't answered tonight, I strongly encourage residents to attend the next meeting, email us with questions, email Dr. Beck with your questions, and we're going to strive to make sure that as we iron out the details now that this has happened, there will be more clarity in the weeks and months to come. I'm very confident about that. To Dom's point, it is a process, bless you. It is a process that does require patience, but it also requires collaboration. So if there's elements that perhaps we're not thinking through perfectly or that might require feedback, we will absolutely be open to that always, no matter what the subject is. One other thing that I do think is important to know as we passed a civility resolution and adopted a pledge tonight, another issue that we're seeing, and I spoke to this at the town council meeting the other night, I think that we're sometimes in a position where the people who are extremely vocal and maybe not the most solutions-oriented or even whether or not it's a matter of good faith, I might be speaking off turn a little bit here, but I just want to apologize to our administration because you can disagree with the decisions of this board, you can disagree with the decisions of this administration, but I think as a community, it is so important for us to still maintain a decorum of respect for one another. We volunteer. We're parents, we're here, we're committed because we love public education in the exact same capacity that our administration does. And while comments about me online may just mean that it's Monday morning, seeing some of the comments I saw about our board members, specifically about Dr. Beck, it's very disheartening. And I just want to apologize on behalf of the people who probably won't ever apologize to you all directly, but I want you to know that it is no reflection of us, our collaboration, and frankly how far we've come in a very short amount of time to get to where we are right now. The solutions that we're presenting tonight, something to be proud of, whether those are solutions at the middle school, whether those are solutions for preschool, Alpine overcrowding. I'm just beyond proud, and I'm going to continue to shout from the rooftops how proud I am of this board, the partnership that we fostered, and I would just say let's not get sidetracked or not let that kind of abyss of a world take over the phenomenal work that we're doing, because I believe and trust that our intentions are good, and I believe that we all operate in alignment with our mission, and that's something to be proud of. Anyone else?
Just on the referendum, and I'm going to just tell you as quickly, is that what was it, 20% of the electorate came out to vote for the referendum? So there was 80% of the town that could have came and voiced an opinion either way, but they allowed 20% to make a decision, and now that we found a solution, there's still issues, right? And to go back to what I was saying, we're paying 0.5% to get a new building of what it would take a $40 million. As a finance person, I don't know anybody who wouldn't take that deal.
Thank you. Anyone else? With that, I think we are all set. We will not be convening into closed session. May we please have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you, John. Second. Thank you, Kim. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Any discussion? Have a great night, all.